You've found yourself at the junction where worlds meet. Politics.
Civility? How about honesty in this country, folks?
Entertainment.
I don't like entertainment.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
It's about having a healthy body image. You have a very unhealthy body. You should have a horrible body image.
Not a big home improvement market in Detroit.
We are definitely going to get letters.
You're listening to Talk Radio's Strangest Animal.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know.
You're getting louder with Crowder.
But you're a strange animal, I got to...
It's the last week in June, which marks Louder with Crowder's final installment of June's Cultural Appropriation Month, where each week we travel across the globe, educating and illuminating you on all that humanity has to offer. This week, we take you to the polite and ever-relevant culture of Great Britain. Yes, tin crumpets!
Glad to be with you. Headphones are tough to get on with a hat. Let's see if I can put this hat on above the headphones.
I couldn't decide between the hat or the crown.
Don't speak, I haven't introduced you. That's the sound of the weekend you're hearing. I am your host, Stephen Crowder, producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. You can follow me on Twitter at @SCrowder. You can follow him at NotGayJared. I fulfill my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. We're good?
We're good. I thought this is not working as well as planned.
This is not working as well as planned. And this beard is not.
This is why we need a rehearsal.
This is why we need a rehearsal on this program. Cultural Appropriation Month. Of course, we are doing Britain. This week, for those listening terrestrially, we have honored the great culture of Britain with the Brexit. We have not well, Queen, come on. We're not exactly sure. The jury's still out on where she... What are you doing? This is a nightmare. This is a horrible start to an already wildly unprofessional program. Not Gay Jared is trying to get his Queen outfit working, and it's not working very well. We have great guests for you today. We have
terrific guests.
We have Lauren Southern, who will be in the program, who spent some time in Britain recently, got assaulted by the angry Brits.
I feel bad for her.
We were going to have Sargon of Akkad. Sorry, what happened is sometimes, little known fact, we have to pre-tape. Right now, believe me, I'm not pre-taping. We'll be reading your tweets very soon to prove it. But every now and then...
We better write down this if it was pre-tape.
Right. With Sargon of Akkad, we had to pre-tape because in the UK, different time difference, and we had some problems with updated software. So we lost the interview. He will be on soon. So instead, we have Lierre Keith, who's a return guest. She is a radical feminist.
But a cool gal.
Very far left, used to be an active vegan, I guess sort of animal rights activist, vegan activist, whatever you call it. Now she is on the opposite side of that spectrum, and I think she's waking up a little bit to the social justice warriors. So we have her on, and of course Gerald Morgan. We will be discussing some theology regarding Islam and topics of the week. My gosh, we're going to have to talk about Brexit. People were asking me, why did you not talk about Brexit? For those listening terrestrially, I have a beard going on right now. That's why it sounds like, what's going on with his voice? Well, listen, radio, get with the times. People want to watch it. They want to watch content now, dummies. So Brexit happened, and a lot of people were asking why last week, why we didn't talk a lot about it. Well, here's why I didn't talk a lot about it. Firstly, I don't care that much. I care enough. I'll tell you where I lean. I always err on the side of freedom. And at the very least, I think it's a good thing that the Brits kind of, hey, listen, some camaraderie. You kind of understand what it's like now to fight for your independence a little bit. And I wanted to have someone like Sargon on, or someone from the UK to talk about it. Someone who was more authoritative, because I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about it. I know enough. I probably know more than your average bear. And like I said, my main, what I've noticed with the Brexit, and you can tweet me if you think I'm wrong, the big thing is the media had no idea this was coming. It's kind of like the United States. and the anti-LGBTQ AAIP, the anti-political correctness, the sort of Trump movement right now that's uprising. The media had no idea this was coming. Kind of like when Reagan won. It's a landslide. They said, well, no one saw this coming except for everyone who wasn't in the mainstream media, press, entertainment industry. The snobbery from the media toward people who were pushing for Brexit. No one thought it would happen. It happened. It happened by a pretty significant margin if you look at the numbers of votes. And this was a big deal. So I think it shows, if nothing else, a big disconnect between the media, the globalists, the multinationalists, the multiculturalists, the politically correct establishment, if you will, for lack of a better term. I hate that term, but established media, certainly in Europe, and the people who, you know what? They're tired of being made to feel guilty that they want a country. They want a country. That's fine. Speaking of which, let me give you some quick, interesting British facts because it's Cultural Appropriation Month.
How appropriate.
Here we're going to honor the great culture of Britain. Britain, England, Great Britain. Americans often get that wrong. I do too. I'm not entirely sure when it's appropriate to say England, Britain.
I don't know either.
Britain is known as an obese society. 1 in 4 Brits are fat. So even though they mock Americans, they have that going on. You must be married in Britain for 1 year before you can legally divorce. That's an interesting fact.
That is interesting. I feel like that's not a terrible idea.
That's not a terrible idea. Over 3 million Muslims in Britain. Let's see what else we have. The Queen, not gay Jared, is the legal owner of 1/6 of the Earth's land surface. And the UK spent $15.8 billion in a health service computer system that failed and was shut down in 2013. This is an interesting. Here's another one. Oh, beer. A beer wave of, this is all comes to me by Courtney Kirchhoff and Casey, by the way, these fun facts. A beer wave of 388,000 gallons of beer flooded London in 1814 after a huge vat rupture.
What a wonderful tragedy.
And in London, it is illegal, finally, to die in the House of Parliament. So if you're going to do it, take it outside. Take it outside, your death and your plague, sir. And then we'll urinate on your corpse. So this is what happened with Brexit. We just have to, Nigel Farage, is that the...
who knows?
Who knows the right way to say it?
Who knows?
But man, a little bit of a weird-looking dude. He finally, after the referendum, after the vote, he stood before the European Union and he just, this has gone viral. He explained in his words as to why the Brexit happened. And he sat down, he educated them, he tried to enlighten them, but he also made it sting just a little bit. So we want to show you some highlights from these clips of Nigel Farage. Let's roll clip 1.
Isn't it funny? You know, when I came here 17 years ago, and I said that I wanted to lead a campaign to get Britain to leave the European Union, you all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
Oh!
To run game on a nigga who's buck wild with the trigger.
Oh, Nigel!
To run game on a nigga who's buck side fuck ass up. Yo, hot 1, hot 2, hot 3, hot. Old dirty bastard, live and uncut.
Oh, boom. Love that. I don't care what you say about him, but that man is a PIMP.
Yes.
Nobody's laughing now.
Spelling that out in my head.
If you expect this segment to get better, don't. Like I said, we're going to have people who are far more authoritative on the Brexit, just kind of like the UK with the American election. It's entertainment. Sorry, it's been an intense few weeks. This is the last week of Cultural Appropriation Month. Brexit, good on you guys. You got some independence.
Cheers.
We are going to be entertained this evening, sons. We have some other clips, don't we?
We have some more clips.
We have
Ready?
some more clips where he sat down and he talked to them about. He just read them the riot act. So let's get to some of the substance of his comments. Roll the next clip, Jared.
But what I would like to see is a grown-up and sensible attitude to how we negotiate a different relationship. Now I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives.
Oh, yeah!
Game on a nigga who's buck wild with the trigger. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga who's buck side fuck ass up. Yo, hot 1, hot 2, hot 3, hot. Old dirty bastard, live and uncut.
Hopper.
That was Hopper getting into it.
He was.
That was Hopper getting into it. Hopper, it's okay.
Hopper loves freedom.
Hopper loves freedom.
He loves freedom.
Oh my gosh, if you have not seen this speech, Nigel giving the smackdown to the European Union, the globalists, the internationalists, the multiculturalists. It is well worth watching. We have it up at louderwithcrowder.com. But we want to get to the substance of the issue here. We want to get to the substance of what he actually had to say. So we do have one final clip regarding his comments on trade, which I think are important for people to know. Roll that clip, not good, Jared.
If you were to decide to cut off your noses, to spite your faces, and to reject any idea of a sensible trade deal, the consequences would be far worse for you than it would be for us.
Nigga who tried to run game on a nigga, who's buck wild with the trigger. Shame on a nigga who tried to run game on a nigga, who's bucks our fuck ass up. Yo, hot 1, hot 2, hot 3, hot. Old dirty bastard, live and uncut.
Oh. That's all I needed the beard for. That's gone. That beard is gone. Sorry. We're going to have our job with terrestrial radio to get that edited. So if you wanted to know how we felt here at Louder with Crowder about the Brexit, I hope we've crystallized our thoughts for you. I tell you what, I wasn't paying a ton of attention to it, but a guy who has that kind of a brass pair to stand up there and just, boom, let him have it. Here's the deal. Brits, we had it wrong. We thought you were weak, pasty, bad teeth, horrible dentistry, a little bit afraid to go off on your own, be independent, kind of like that kid who lives at home until he's 26 on his parents' health care, Bernie supporters. And if there are more people out there like Nigel and fewer Pierce Morgans,
send them our way.
Send them our way. We need them, and you have more than earned our respect. Like I said, and one thing to this, that it was going to be catastrophic. Pound went down, it came back up. All the doomsday theorists who said this was going to be the end, I don't think that's the case. And I think this has got to, people in Britain right now, they must just feel a little bit lighter, just a little bit freer.
I think so.
I hope you understand, this is the history of the United States. Now, the difference is we had to do it with guns. We had to fight off you guys with guns, and you were able to do it with a vote. So understand that's the history of it. That's the struggle. And we're glad to have kindred spirits. We'll be back. Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned.
And now, Lena Dunham bravely fends off rapists at a bar.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm like super wasted. I hope nobody tries to take advantage of me.
Nope, you're good.
Stay tuned for more.
Whoa, Jared, what are you doing?
Shoot bad guys.
With what?
My AR-15.
Where'd you get it?
AR-15.com.
Oh, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
Thank God for AR-15.com. They have AR-15 and accessories for sale and the best advice there is on the web. Oh, no, there's another one. You got him.
Yeah.
With your what?
AR-15.
From where?
AR-15.com.
That's the best place to go, and that's the takeaway because this commercial's about to stop.
Everybody shall be exalted. Shall be exalted.
Glad to be back. Cultural Appropriation Month. Britain. I don't know that every valley should be exalted.
Maybe some.
Maybe some.
Some valleys.
You spend time in the San Fernando Valley?
No, I
That's
have
the whole
not.
point is it's a valley. It's not exalting. Exaltation, I mean, it's it's bad writing.
It is.
That's just weak writing. It's weak writing,
Sloppy.
England.
It's very sloppy.
It's sloppy. It's willy wag.
What the hell is that?
And I ate turtles.
I was about to say turtles. Okay, so we have a lot to talk about Brexit. We'll be talking about that with Lauren Southern. What do we have on here? Lauren Southern coming up after this break. Oh, I want to talk about the BET Awards and Jesse Williams' character. Are we okay? I'm getting some low noise hum. Is that just in my headphones?
Just in your headphones.
Oh, okay, these headphones.
Never mind
I don't
that.
know what's happening. Someone offered us free headphones, and we've been getting so many offers from sponsors for free stuff, and we don't want to do it because, of course, then they think you should plug their stuff. So headphones are one of them. Those wood-paneled headphones, remember those? They were supposed to like a few $100, but
That said, if you want to set his headphones for free without any favors expected, by all means.
says the man dressed as the queen.
Of course.
Nobody gives you anything with no favors expected. Okay, we want to talk about this. This was big. We'll talk about the backlash with Justin Timberlake that happened. So this is Jesse Williams, who was at the BET Awards. What was his award for? He was given in some kind of one of those awards that's almost like an honorary doctorate, right?
Sure.
Did he win an award for acting?
You know, I gotta be honest. I never watched the BET Awards in my life.
That's racist.
I can deal.
Okay, let's show the clip first because everyone was talking about it, and then there was this huge, crazy backlash. So go ahead.
Yesterday would have been young Tamir Rice's 14th birthday. So I don't want to hear any more about how far we've come when paid public servants can pull a drive-by on a 12-year-old playing alone in a park in broad daylight, killing him on television, and then going home to make a sandwich.
Oh, well, the bad part about that is he went home to make a sandwich. And then, okay, we have it up on my screen here, not gay Jared. Justin Timberlake said, Jesse Williams, inspired though. And then people said, does that mean you're going to stop appropriating our music? And he said, oh, you sweet soul, the more you realize we're the same, the more we can have a conversation. And if you go to louderwithcrowder.com, we documented all the angry tweets at Justin Timberlake for being racist. So he was complimenting a Black Lives Matter liberal social justice warrior in Jesse Williams, saying he's inspiring. People took the opportunity to attack him for being talented in what they declared to be, quote unquote, a black genre of music. And when he said, we are all the same, they accused him of being racist. If that timeline sounds confusing, it should. It doesn't make any sense. Jesse Williams, everyone was talking about this, and he had Stacey Dash come out and say some stuff that frankly wasn't very well thought out. It wasn't very intelligent. It doesn't help the conservative side. I met Jesse Williams. I had a small role on a show called Greek on ABC Family. He came in, this was before Grey's Anatomy. I remember I was in there talking with Kelsey Grammer's daughter. And he came in, and I'll tell you the truth. If you look at the timeline, listen, you can get offended. He's gotten progressively more tan. It's kind of the Sean King treatment. When he came in to get the makeup done, he was paler than me. I know this because we were in the makeup room, and my makeup was darker for the show than him. I thought, you know, listen, is he am I saying he's not black? Of course not. But if you're going to talk about people just oppressing you, looking at you, immediately judging you because they're not looking at this guy and thinking, black guy, thug. Because when I saw him, I thought maybe like Lebanese. You know, it's a luck of the draw. I didn't look at him and immediately think, black guy. Could just be me being ignorant. Again, my makeup was required to be darker than his on ABC Family Greek. He was in the room and he kind of sat there. He was nice. He was friendly, actually. He kind of held court a little bit and was talking about something he'd read at HuffPo. And I got in trouble on that set because only a few hours later, I was talking about how much I loved South Park. I've told this story. And the guy was like, yeah, man, I love South Park. I said, I just love. And I thought he was an ally. I was young enough. I said, I love how they just lambast liberals. He was like, what? I just love how they
just right over his head.
He goes, no, man, I don't think you get it. I go, no, I don't think you get it. And the word traveled, and so people were not happy with my comments there on the set of ABC Family's Greek. Also, it was a really crappy show, and I did a poor job on it. It was one of those things, I might as well have just been called Drunken Frat Member number 2. My time back in Los Angeles. Here's the thing with Jesse Williams. Tamir Rice, you even thought, remember we talked about on the show, you were going, that seems like a really bad situation and the cops are wrong. Then you saw the video.
Well, all you see is the Twitter clip of the 3 seconds that involved no context.
Right.
It looked kind of bad.
Right.
But context is a beautiful thing.
Context when you understand that the guy had, was it a fake gun?
It was a fake gun, but the tip was removed.
The tip was removed.
There's
and he was
nothing
aiming it at people in a public park.
In an area that is known for a lot of gang crime.
In an area that is known for a lot of gang crime. And if you watch the tape, you can kind of see him pointing it out. And maybe he's just playing around. You should be really mad with the parents. You should be really mad with the parents. If you're going to say, oh, he's a kid, man, then get on the parents. The kid took the tip off of a gun that looks like a real gun, and he's pointing at people in the park.
In a place known for gangs.
In a place known for gangs. What do you think is going to happen? Now, does it justify the cops' actions? No. But does it mean that they went out that day to kill a black kid and go home and make a sandwich and they're getting off scot-free because it's a black kid? No. Just like if you look at Freddie Gray, that situation in Baltimore, guess what? Look at the cops involved. Look at how many of them are black. Look at the mayor of Baltimore. Look at the city chambers. Look at their city councils. Look at the police force. Look at the demographics. We're supposed to believe that every single black public servant in Baltimore is also racist? Jesse? Somehow you figured it out and nobody else? Nobody else has figured it out? And everyone gets up and cheers. So brave. You're basically cheering the idea that cops go around shooting black kids for no reason because they're black. And that's the problem people have with the intellectual dishonesty.
While sitting in a stadium that's surrounded by cop security.
Yes, exactly. Well, sitting in a stadium that's surrounded by cop security. And you believe that only cops should have guns, right? Mm-hmm. So these people talk about the corrupt, racist police force, but only they should have guns. It's one of those things that is, and people talk about how, we'll talk more about this later. I want to get into a macro thing. Liberals just aren't fun anymore. Like, can't you just go up and accept an award and say, got my award, bitch? Are you saying that's racist because it's BET? Yes, I tune into BET because I want to watch Live at the Apollo. I love In Living Color. I love Black. We just played Wu-Tang. You think that's an accident? I have many Wu-Tang albums on actual hard disk. I'm actually starting to catalog them on my phone. So fine, whatever. Oh, you're pigeonholing. No, this guy's pigeonholing their culture. And the fact that people can't even allow Justin Timberlake because he so happens to be talented in an area largely dominated by black people just shows you how racist and how identity politic driven this is. It was a stupid speech. It wasn't accurate. Justin Timberlake went out of his way to try and virtue signal and praise it, and he still got labeled a racist. Stop it. Stop lying. Stop trying to be politically correct. They're going to devour you anyways. People like Jesse Williams. Jesse Williams, gosh. All right, Lauren Southern after the break. It'll be a lot of fun. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to this very special celebrity edition of American Ninja Warrior. All right, next up we have Caitlyn Jenner, the wonderful Caitlyn Jenner.
She's an athlete if I've ever seen one.
Oh, you're right about that. All those medals no doubt decorating that closet, out of which Bruce became the wonderful butterfly that is Caitlyn.
Are you people excited? Yeah, okay, this is gonna be fun.
And that first obstacle for Caitlyn is the quintuple step, which should be no challenge for the fleet-footed decathlete.
Okay, I'm just gonna step here and
Looks like she'll make it.
And it is, oh my God. And that is a compound fracture if I've ever seen one. I tell you, that estrogen replacement therapy really does a number on your bone density.
That is disgusting.
I'm okay. I can still make it.
And that Caitlyn showing a spirit of a champion.
As she moves on to the log roll.
And this one is difficult. Caitlyn is trying to tiptoe across that spinning log.
Okay, I can keep my balance.
And,
the log splitter.
Oh, that is a wishbone tumble, which combined with that compound fracture makes a tough day for Caitlyn Jenner. I bet you she's wishing she'd gone through with the bottom half of the surgery.
She most definitely still has balls.
Not so sure after that one.
Poor decisions led to this. Across the board.
Stay tuned for more Celebrity Edition American Ninja Warrior.
Hey, don't come near the camera.
Look at the camera. Who the fuck are you? I'm sorry.
That's Oliver, just go that way.
Seriously, who the fuck are you?
That's fine.
Fuck off now. Seriously.
No, we're staying here because
Yes,
this
you
is
are.
public property. Oliver, run.
Fuck off, you fascist cunt.
We're not fascists. You're the fascist. You're denying people free speech. You're denying people free speech.
Fuck off. Fuck
No, I'm staying here.
off.
This guy is beating.
How concerned were you going in? Were you aware of this? Did you have security outside of the cameraman? How prepared were you?
No, the only part we didn't have security was at that protest we went to. I didn't expect it to be a violent one. But when I went to Molenbeek and obviously the Calais jungle, we had security with us that thankfully the Rebel viewers funded for me.
Okay.
And we absolutely needed security. There was not a chance we would have gotten out of there okay without security. We had, when we were in Molenbeek, multiple times we had crowds of men running up to us, trying to grab our camera, yelling at us in Arabic. And our translator told us that they were basically saying, this is our turf. You can't do what you want here. You can't film here.
Right.
And he was he was a translator and also security, he diffused the situation. He looked like the Hound from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So they weren't about to mess with him.
I wouldn't
But
tell
he
him that.
diffused-
That's not necessarily complimentary. You look like the guy with the burned off scalp and pockmarks.
Well, no,
Where's
like
my
as in
flagpole?
really big guy.
Yes. Okay, good. Because I turned to Not Gay Jared, and this is going to sound terrible, but I turned to Not Gay Jared. I said, my God, she better have security when she went in there. Otherwise, she's really stupid. So
Gotta
I'm
get
glad
that.
that. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you have to, the problem is with no-go zones, is you either go into the no-go zone and get some good interviews and nothing happens to you, and everyone's like, oh, it's not really a no-go zone, or you prove it's a no-go zone and become a statistic.
Right.
Right? So it's really a binary amount of results, and we just made the right decisions to make sure we didn't become a statistic.
Well, I'm glad
Like
to hear
we-
that because I know you're younger and sometimes, and I got myself into some situations where not like that. I couldn't go there with security or without security, with my record, with what I've done with Islam. There's no way I could go there. But I've gotten myself into some dicey situations where I go back, go, gosh, I wish I had been a little safer. And as a woman, and that's a no-go zone, I was worried. So I'm glad to hear you had security. Otherwise, I would have had to talk to you off air and verbally slap you.
Yeah, no. If he wasn't guiding us around, telling us where to go and where to not go, we would not have been okay though. Something would have happened. We had to leave at one point when we were in Molenbeek because word started spreading that we were there, and people started knowing who we were and like yelling "F you," and it started to get darker. And he's like, "Okay, they could be going back to their houses to get weapons. It's time to get out of here right now if you want to be safe."
Well, haven't you heard?
So
if you
it's-
just get rid of the Second Amendment, no one has weapons. There's no crime.
Right, of course, that's how it works.
Well, isn't that a perfect?
Hey, you were on Sky News debating that the same day I was on.
I had
Sky
no
News debating.
idea. Yeah, I had no idea. Apparently, apparently you did. I didn't get to see yours. I don't have Sky News at all.
It wasn't a victory when the guy falls on his own sword. The guy just had a freak out. It was
Oh,
ridiculous.
yeah, I know. I did see it with that other guy who came on. He was really mad.
Yeah.
You know, my rule with media is I don't do it unless I can do it from this studio. So I just don't have time to go to a satellite studio anymore. And Sky News had asked several times, but they wanted to set me up with one of their affiliates. I said no. So this is just kind of a one-off, and I don't expect to be invited back.
From what I saw, it was a good interview, but it literally turned on when I was in a bar with a bunch of friends there, and all of the subtitles were off, so everyone in the bar is watching you like, what is this dude saying?
Well, yeah, what I was going to say is, it's the country that invented English. Why can't they get their subtitles right?
It was pretty funny to watch, though. I mean,
Well,
from
he
what-
kept
it was
bringing up
interesting.
automatic weapons. We
Made
talked about it.
documents.
Yes, he kept bringing up
Yeah.
automatic weapons, and then the legislation we're talking about has nothing to do with automatic weapons. And so some people got mad because they think, well, why did you get off that point? I'm going, because it is it's the point he started with, and it's a lie, and you can't allow them to set that. And it seems like Sky News is one of the worst offenders from what people have told me. I was kind of flying blind. So, okay, you're taking a break. So this happened in Britain. No plans to go back particularly soon, I'd imagine.
Gonna wait a bit, let it settle down there. I mean, the thing is, when these videos come out, and if people recognize themselves, like, I'm not going back to Molenbeek. No, I'm not going back.
Well, there's
I'm not
that
going
other
back.
right, and there's that
Took
other
my
battle.
chances.
Yes, there's the other
Sorry?
battle now. There's the other battle now because freedom of speech doesn't really and it doesn't really exist on YouTube, which is a private company. But they can then come back and say, "Hey, I didn't give permission to be on camera," and the videos can be removed. So you have to fight on all different fronts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was surprised how suppressed free speech is there. When I was in Germany, especially, the people were horrified of speaking up about the migrant crisis, refugees at all. They all wanted their faces blurred if they were going to talk about it because they said, we're going to lose our job either because we're going to get harassed by Antifa or the government will come after us. Just the free speech was abhorrent there. In fact, when I was in Germany, they were arresting people because apparently you're not allowed more than 15 people in an area with the same political opinions yelling things. Otherwise, they're going to arrest.
That's Germany. That's what we call overcorrection.
Overcorrection.
After
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay, listen, after this, that one's on us. Okay, screw up. We own it, okay? No more people who agree. Never. Never. Not even, hey, you, where you line up? Well, I think I may be Democratic. You're out. You're out. Get rid of
I'm
him.
not kidding. They had a Pegida rally, and I was getting off at a station. I was going to Markslow to some Turkish community to go get some footage there. And we got out, and they had 4 guys, maybe 5 guys at this Pegida rally. They just had a little car and a loudspeaker. And 16 cop vehicles and probably 75 cops surrounding this area in riot gear. I am not kidding. Like, the overkill was just unbelievable in Germany. Same with the rate in Cologne. They had set up a booth for women to make reports for if they were raped or assaulted, just right in that square, for specifically that reason. But they are very, very worried about their image on the international level.
I can imagine, and I can imagine if a woman reports a rape with a name with too many vowels in it, it just goes into the let's put that for later folder. You know?
Yeah.
Well, okay, what happened? Well, I was at a German music festival here in Cologne. Okay, and the man's name? Omar. We'll get back. We'll get back to you. Our people will speak in with your people.
I hate the Germans have never gotten it right, and that's what bothers me so much about Bernie Sanders, about Nancy Pelosi. You know, they always quote not only the Norwegian, Scandinavian countries, but Germany too. Look at Germany, and I'm just sitting there. So hopefully, I mean, I know you're Canadian, so you know you're a little warped, but you know, Germany. Did you get there and did you go? Okay, I get it now. I understand why Americans feel this way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Germany was just a crazy experience. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw the news while I was there, but we were detained 3 times and had to give our passports and information over and get searched. They had guys that had watch lists on us while we were there. They followed me to my car when I was just getting in the car. They followed me when I was going to get pizza and donuts. Like, it was a situation there, the whole thing.
Gosh.
I don't know.
They had watch lists? What do you mean by watch lists?
Yeah, they actually had us on, like, they told us, they're like, we have been told by our higher ups to watch you. And they would say, you were at the airport
government?
yesterday, Lauren Southern. Yeah, they came up to us because we were reporting on the Bilderberg conference going on there. So they literally would come up to us with files knowing our names when we were just like at a completely different part of town eating pizza, and they'd say, we need to see your passport and everything.
Well, so now you can understand why people like me, where people go, that's unreasonable, where I go, you know what, I don't think that a government watch list should be the litmus test for whether I can own a firearm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I was on a watch list in Germany, technically, so
Yes.
should I be allowed to?
Well, I don't think anyone's. I don't know what it is in Germany. They make great guns, right? You've got Glock. Is Sig German? Is Sig German?
I don't remember.
I don't know if Sig is. Oh, Sig was. I don't know. But the point is, they make a lot of guns, but they don't really get to use them. So, okay, we will. Well, we're gonna have to go to a break and then bring Lauren back on to discuss her journey into Europe a little bit more, deep into the bowels of the world, really. If God were to give the world an enema right now, well, he'd stick the hose in the Middle East, but then he'd go like, hey, there's 2 bowels. This is Europe. Let's give an enema to Europe. Louder with Crowder. Lauren Southern will be back with her for more. And now Lena Dunham bravely fends off rapists at a bar.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I should drive anywhere. So maybe one of you ominous looking characters should drive me home.
Yeah, okay, here's some cab money.
You can just come over here. You don't have to throw it. I won't bite.
No, just take it. I slid it across the bar. Leave us alone. Stay tuned for more. I can't believe he said that. Oh, there you are. You caught me on my off time. You know, you're probably watching this video cast on YouTube or Facebook, or maybe you caught the live video stream Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. I don't know, but many of you don't know you can subscribe on iTunes or SoundCloud. The audio version has exclusive commercials, sketches, and you can take it with you on the go. Plus, it's free, and I know many of you are cheap bastards, so. Always looking out for you.
You're a strange animal, that's what I know. But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm indisposed.
There you go. Lauren's a gamer. She's dancing. That was a big song in Canada, actually. Gowan, Scottish artist, but he was bigger in Quebec.
Obsessed with that song. After you played it, I've got it on my phone. I can't stop listening to it.
It
It's
is.
stuck in my head.
It is the
Like,
ultimate bad song. That it's it is very danceable. I'll even put it on before interviews. Like, okay, let's get in the vibe. Let's get in the vibe in the studio. And yeah, we'll hopefully we can get Gowan on the show sometime. Apparently, he's still like occasionally touring. So I don't know. He's over there. He's Scottish though, I think. So Lauren, what was your goal going into Europe? Was it specifically to cover Brexit, or was it really just to kind of get what you ended up getting, to just show the authoritarianism and the absolute fear instilled in its citizenry through political correctness?
Well, I still have a lot of videos we have to release about that, and a lot of interviews with migrants we still have to release because it's just so much footage. But my goal initially going in was, I've heard so much from both the left and the right about what's going on in Europe. And I mean, the best way to confirm what's going on is to go and get firsthand knowledge. I mean, what if it turns out all this stuff I've been reading on the right-wing side of things is nonsense? What if I went there and everything was normal? The Muslim immigrants were perfectly integrated, no niqabs, no need for Sharia. What if all the refugees were women and children running around? I mean, you got to go and see these things for yourself. What if the left wasn't lying, right? What if that was the situation? Now, I went there, and my skepticism is completely gone. I was walking through the streets in Belgium and London, and there were women in all black with their eyes covered everywhere, especially in Belgium. It was insane, and the people there told me they want Sharia, they want Sharia. When I went through the refugees, none of them were Syrian, and they were all men, and all told me when I spoke to them, they're just stopping at these camps to get to London, and they're there for economic reasons. So it just confirmed everything for me and made me 10 times more confident to say, yes, the media is lying to you. Yes, the left is lying to you. So you have too many people that just kind of regurgitate stories nowadays and don't go and find and see the story for themselves, and I wanted to be able to do that.
Right. You didn't go to Finland, did you?
No, I didn't go to Funland.
No, nobody does. I just wanted to make sure. There we go. I just won the bet. That's where the Muslims stopped there, and they said, no, we're leaving. Let's go to London. I hear they have great food. So, okay. And I think your mic is that her mic bumping a little bit? I think she's bumping it. No, respectfully, I think it's shifting between your bosoms.
You're just trying to get me to adjust the boobage for the
viewers.
Exactly.
That's always an easy. It's we can actually hear it. It sounds like this, and that's your breasts.
You can hear the boobage.
So someone is going to love this.
Hear the boobage.
Yes, exactly. Listen, Lauren, we need to sell these spots, but yeah. So I think it's just on a T-shirt. It used to happen at Fox News a lot, but they're like, no, keep it, don't spoil it. So we were just trying to give you a heads up. So okay, so you leave there and you've come back with the same message of but you talk about that. Canada's not that far off. I mean, you talk about people in the full burqa. You can I saw that all the time, just in the specific neighborhoods of Montreal.
Not where I am. I mean, I haven't seen it. I see it every once in a while, women in hijabs and burqas and stuff, but it's bad in Europe, like really bad. Like I was literally making a post about it, and I'm like, oh, I need a picture to make with this post about complaining about niqabs in Belgium, and I just look out the window and I'm like, oh, there's one, right? Yeah. Just everywhere. Everywhere you go, probably at least half the women. And the weird thing is that I started noticing it wasn't just Muslim women either. It was like European women that were wearing hijabs as well. And I was like, huh. It's not just an issue of not integrating, but you're starting to see the culture being pushed into Europe as well. You've got Sadiq Khan now as the mayor in London, and he's starting to ban scantily clad women on advertisements, right? I was just talking to a Muslim today on my show, interviewing him, and he's telling me, the thing is with Sharia, you're not going to see Sharia just, boom, there's Sharia law.
No.
There you go. It's creeping. It's something that is going to come slowly, and it's going to slowly gain more influence. And as you see the demographics change, which they are rapidly changing in Europe, birth rates for native Europeans versus Muslim immigrants are insanely different, obviously with the Muslim immigrants having far, far, far more children. Demographics alone are going to cause there to be a mass push of Muslim ideology and Sharia, sure. And you're going to see a culture war there, much, much, much bigger than the culture war we're seeing here against progressives. It's going to be a culture war of religion and
It's going to be an
Islam.
actual war.
Yeah.
People need to understand that.
Yes.
It's going to be a violent one. That's why I've talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people got mad. I said, listen, Muslims need to have a civil war. Otherwise, there will be either a global war or a very serious war. They need to, if there are so many moderate Muslims out there who are appalled at the idea of Sharia, who are appalled at the idea of violent punishment for apostasy, they need to, I don't just mean condemn terrorist attacks, they need to rise up and become a part of political offices to strike down this radical Islamic sentiment. They're not doing it. They need to fight that civil war, or there will be a very real war between the rest of the developing world and Islam, as much as people don't want to hear it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I spoke to Muslims there. When they speak to media, a lot of the time they're kind of like, oh, we don't really want to talk about Sharia, right? We're not used to being asked these questions. So a lot of them told me, they're like, yeah, I support Sharia law, but no, it doesn't say anything about killing gays, right?
Right.
Or they just wouldn't answer the question. And I spoke to a shopkeeper there, and he told me, he was basically like, yeah, most of the people here in Molenbeek are radicals. Yeah, they're lying to you when they say they're not radicals. Yes, everyone here supports Sharia. When they talk to the media, they put on a bit of a different face. When they talk to Westerners, they put on a bit of a different face. If you know Islam, if you've lived in the communities like people I've known have, it's generally a sentiment among them that, yeah, there is a lot of sympathy towards terrorism. Yes, there is a lot of...
We had Annie Cyrus on. Did you know that every mosque is a Sharia court? A lot of people don't know that. You cannot have a mosque without an imam who is an official Sharia judge. Not every imam is a Sharia judge, but every mosque is required to have at least one leading imam who's able to officiate. Did you know that?
Interesting. That's very interesting. I really liked when I was at one of the mosques in Whitechapel, right where that protest was going on. At the front, they had a big sign that said, "Front entrance for men only." Can you imagine if a Christian church had that up? The outrage you would see. They'd say, oh, it's the Jim Crow laws again.
Right, exactly. Well, I think even with that mosque, if you find the right guy and you just, it's like a Zoltar machine, except instead of putting in quarters, you show them your boobs, and all of a sudden Sharia goes away with a lot of these guys. I saw that one guy leering at you when you were asking him about the gay stuff. So, okay, we have to go. Lauren Southern, it's rebel.media is where people can find these videos, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very compelling
halal
content.
videos.
Very brave young
Come out.
lady. Lauren, thank you so much. Louder with Crowder. Please go check her out. And stay safe, Lauren. Stay tuned, everyone else.
Why doesn't this hero reveal himself and tell me his true name? You do have a name.
My name is Gladiator.
How dare you turn your back on Big Squirrel? Slave! Remove your helmet and tell Big Squirrel your name.
My name is Hopper. You know me from my presidential campaign and slogan, Feel the Hopper. 2016, loyal servant and friend to all Americans and Jesus. A pet to a loyal Stephen, and I will have my vengeance in this episode or the next.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm permanently blinded by the soap's chemicals. I'll never see again. I should have gone organic.
It's a good thing you can subscribe to the audio version on iTunes or SoundCloud.
Oh my, that's convenient, but tell them about the website as well.
What's the address?
Louderwithcrowder.com. Even if you're blind, I don't know how Braille works on a monitor.
Glad to be back. That was Lauren Southern.
Love the gal.
Rebel.media. We took a poll while she was up. Oh, sorry. Second hour for those listening terrestrially, because people still do that. I am your host, Steven Crowder. Producing with me in video studio, as always, is Jared, who is not gay. Follow him at NotGayJared. I fulfilled my legal obligations. Draw your own conclusions. Of course, if you're listening terrestrially, you can always download the podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, louderwithcrowder.com, or watch, listen live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. And by the way, we're never going daily.
Don't even
stop it.
Stop.
Stop it. Stop. It's not. It's never. It's going to be a never. That's a no and a never. There's no exploratory committee. It will never, ever happen. There will never be an announcement to any kind of a different effect. Stop asking. Respectfully, we have no respect for you, fans of Louder with Crowder, who keep asking us that. We hope you leave because we're not going daily. That's how little we respect you.
It's rude.
It's rude, frankly. It's rude. We try and put the show together, and they want us to go daily, and we're not. It's never, ever going to happen in our lifetime.
If you give a mouse a cookie,
nope.
You give a punk a podcast.
This is true.
Just once more.
We did a poll on Twitter, over 600-something votes. On a scale from 1 to 10, how creepy is your admiration for Lauren Southern? 38% said love, 35% said lust. Still a disturbing amount, 27% said hair puppet.
That's statistically significant.
It's statistically significant. not as significant as the Muslims who want to kill everybody.
Well, no.
Hey, let me bring something up here. We had this story removed from Facebook this week. We've been in a constant battle with them. If ever you catch something that you can't share on Facebook or social media, please let us know. Email me or email through the site, and it'll get to someone who can help with that. This one was removed, and it was pretty benign. It was a flashback because of all these gun control rulings. So this is really, you've seen what we've done. We've done a lot more controversial content at louderwithcrowder.com or on this program. This one was saying, hey, flashback to a 2005 ruling from the Supreme Court. We have it here in front of me. The Supreme Court ruled on Monday, in 2005, that the police did not have a constitutional duty to protect a person from harm. Even a woman who had obtained a court-issued protective order against a violent husband, making an arrest mandatory for a violation. So this is important, just to simplify it for people who, I know that language, that's a full phrase. Basically, the police have no constitutional duty to protect you. The courts have ruled, and we'll get to it several times, there's precedent here, that it is your job to protect yourself, not the police. So if you even call to have the police come protect you, and they don't, it's not their job. The Supreme Court does not recognize it as the police force's job. Tell us again why you want them to be the only one with guns, especially for people who are maybe 20 minutes away from the quickest police response time. Going back even further, we have this up. In 1981, a federal court of appeals found the same lack of responsibility. In two separate cases, the police were sued for negligent failure to provide adequate police services. The trial judges held that the police were under no specific legal duty to provide protection to the individual plaintiffs and dismissed the complaints. A couple of things here. This is a Sunday post, so a very short post at louderwithcrowder.com. We just were saying, this is on Sundays we post some things that people may not know. We just try and educate people. And everyone else takes Sundays off. We don't, but a lot of articles like this because news doesn't break on Sunday. So it was basically designed to get into the bloodstream because people are talking about why do you need these weapons? It's the police can protect you. That's the leftist argument, right? That's the push for gun control. And so we said, okay, it's actually not their obligation to protect you legally, according to the Supreme Court. This is a really benign post. It's not me drawing Muhammad. It's not a rape joke. It's not a personal attack on Lena Dunham's gelatinous figure. It is simply pointing out a Supreme Court ruling, and Facebook removed it. That should tell you something. What's going on? What is this?
Hey, Dean. This is.
Yo.
Why do you always call on Thursdays?
Just because I'm free most of the time on Thursdays. Let's go catch a movie or something, dude. I'm bored out of my mind. Let's go see a flick. Let's go just chill.
Listen, he's a good guy, Jared, but he's a good guy, but
I know.
He doesn't understand radio. It's not the same. There are no takes.
Listen, we'll handle later.
Jared.
Call back.
Hey, yeah. Hey, right with you, Dean. 1 second. 1 second.
Just,
all right.
Yeah, just.
Bro, let's go.
Just
Come
call
on.
me back.
Let's go just catch a flick.
Hey, I'll call you right back, okay? We'll text you maybe later.
Yeah, you said you were going to call me before. You didn't call. That's what I mean.
I got it.
Because you're always at the studio on Thursday, and I can get you there.
Your number. I need. Yeah, send me your number. All right. Call back. Call back.
Send it
Right.
again.
Right. Hey.
You've got to get a handle on this. I know he's your bro.
I've texted him about this multiple times. We talked about it.
Well, it makes it awkward when we have Dean Cain on as a guest. I wanted to have him on as a guest in the next few weeks because of the because I wanted to have him talk about that film he was in, and he sent my wife. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy, and so you don't want to have to.
I'm sorry.
He needs to learn some boundaries.
I should probably log in with a different.
Yeah, don't let. Skype. I don't even know how he has access to the Skype. So we were talking about gun control. That's right. We were talking about gun control. So the Supreme Court, Facebook ruled this. By the way, Lierre Keith coming up after the break. Noted leftist feminist, and we'll see if we can change our mind on some issues here. So let's put this all together. Supreme Court. It's not the police's job to protect you. It's your job to protect yourself. Pushing for gun control. Police pistol permits in New York City. I have this up on my screen. In New York are up 45%. 45%. This is a winning issue, people. Monroe County Clerk Adam Bello says applications up 45% in 1 year. It's pretty significantly higher. We processed as many this year so far than the full year in 2014. It's a dramatic spike, Bello told 13 Wham News. Some said they were not surprised by the sharp increase. Troy Langfit said he is going to apply in the coming days. I think it's a great thing, and I think they should be up in all the counties. He said people wouldn't be walking into places with weapons if they knew most people had a gun, if people carried arms, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is important to note. New York State, of all the states, pistol permits up 45%. Now, I'm not entirely familiar with the gun laws in New York. I know that in California, you have to have some kind of a permit to purchase.
They're incredibly tough.
Do you have to have is this a permit to purchase a pistol? It's not a carry permit?
I know the carry. I know people have gone through the carry concealed permit program, and that is, I mean, they find every reason possible to deny it to you. I'm not sure about the purchase, though. That's different.
So I think we're talking here, Courtney wrote this article, or Casey, I'm assuming it's a pistol permit to purchase, because in California, we're still going to try and hashtag gift a gun to Dave Rubin. Some complications. He has to get a permit in California. There's some extra paperwork that you don't have elsewhere with California. That's why you should absolutely leave that state. Just don't come to Texas and bring your crappy ideas there.
No.
So this is something that people should be aware of. Every time there's a mass shooting and the left they try to push more gun control, they lose, and people get scared. People who weren't involved. This is why I've talked about this before. If you have a relative who is responsible and doesn't own a firearm, hashtag gift a gun. Send them a firearm so that they have to go through the paperwork and get them a training course. This should be your next gift. To your father, to your mother, to your daughter, to your son, brother, sister, wife, husband. If you have anyone in your life who is responsible, who is not wildly maybe afraid of guns, send them a gun. Hashtag gift a gun. Send it to them as a gift so that way they have to go in, they have to get it shipped to their dealer, an FFL dealer, they have to go through the background check. If they're in New York or California, they have to fill their pistol permit and get them either a concealed carry permit course registration or some kind of a local gun safety course. They do them where they don't necessarily have to give you your permit. They will forever be Second Amendment activists. This is one of those issues, people, that is winning. It's a wildly winning issue as long as people have ever once in their life purchased a firearm. Ever. The second they've crossed that bridge, they no longer buy the BS. They don't. And then it makes it hard. Hillary Clinton wants gun manufacturers to be liable. She wants Smith & Wesson to be able to be sued for Virginia Tech. Now, someone will fact check me. I'm not saying specifically. I don't know if Smith & Wesson was the gun used there. Tell me that is not radical. Tell me that someone like me who believes that the Second Amendment was written in a way, by the way, we did a video on this up at louderwithcrowder.com with plenty of context and quotes from the Founding Fathers, that it is the Second Amendment is expressly for private citizens to bear arms. We've gone through this time and time again. Tell me that I'm the radical one who believes that a law-abiding citizen should have the right to self-preservation, in contrast with Hillary Clinton, who believes that Ruger should be sued if somebody shoots himself with one of their guns. I had to get a tetanus shot today because of some lawn. What do you call those? Cloppers?
Like lawn shears or something?
What you would use like to cut branches?
Yeah, I don't do that kind of work.
I don't know what you call them. You just use them.
Sounds physical and hard.
You know, bigger weeds that you can't pull out or branches. You call them cloppers, clippers?
Yeah, clippers.
I know, giant clippers. Well, they were on top of the trash can. I didn't see them there. I just moved the trash can. It just fell at the right angle.
You just described them as giant, and you say you didn't see them?
Yeah, they were giant. I didn't see them. They were the same color as the trash can. And I'm not used to them being. They weren't mine. I didn't put them there, and they were on top of the trash can. It sliced open my knuckle here. And so, it bleeds because your knuckle, it moves. It was bleeding nonstop. And right away, I went to my wife is gone. So I went to the drugstore. I went to the Rite Aid.
Your shirt looked like a Saul prop.
It looks like a Freddy
Saul
Krueger
7.
I just went, ah! And I brought my hand to my chest, and there was just blood everywhere. And so I went and I got a tetanus shot. Should I sue Should I sue Home Depot? Because you're not using a gun for its intended purpose if you're killing yourself, right? That's not what it's intended for. That's not why it was designed. Because you misuse something, you should be able to sue the manufacturer. Hillary Clinton believes this. Matter of fact, she tore into Bernie Sanders saying, you got a D-, I got an F from the NRA because you didn't believe that we should sue gun manufacturers. And he, to his credit, said, I don't believe that they should be liable for some psychopath going. So this is the extremism, and what's the result? 45% increase in pistol permits in New York. More people armed than ever. Get people in your life involved. Gift them a gun. Hashtag gift a gun. Get them through the process. And this issue, there will be a wave of victories for the Second Amendment. Coming up, Lierre Keith, liberal, conservative, what will happen? Who knows? A clash of civilizations and haircuts.
And now Lena Dunham bravely fends off rapists at a bar.
Hey, you. Are you the one who threw the cab money at me earlier?
Well, you said you needed a drive home, and...
No, you threw what? Money at me.
You said you needed a lift home. I didn't want you to drive home drunk.
I am not... Look at me. I'm not a stripper.
Thank God.
Hey! You know what that is? You know what that is when you treat me like a stripper?
I was not treating you like a stripper, believe me.
Hey! That is perpetuating rape culture. Oh my God, rape culture.
I am so sorry. I have no intention of perpetuating rape culture. I just wanted you to get safely home and for you to stay away from me and my family.
No, okay, you're making advancements and perpetuating rape culture. And now you want to hide behind your family with... Okay, you're making eyes at me, and I had to call my friend for the buddy system. What family?
My family, they're sitting right here. This is Applebee's.
Stay tuned for more.
Glad to be back. Got a little rough there during the break. Got a little bit rambunctious.
A little hairy there.
With not gay Jared and myself. This is a return guest. Many of you haven't heard her on the program yet. Sorry, I don't want to misgender her right off the bat. We have to be careful with our guests now. We will get letters, but it was an interview that went viral. She got blowback. I got blowback. Former vegan, now advocate of eating, well, I don't want to say exactly what but if you type in vegetarian myths, vegan myths, you will find her. Lierre Keith, thank you for being on the program.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Well, no, of course, you're always welcome to come back. So we'll talk about a few things, because now that we know each other a little better and we've corresponded a bit, I find that there are some interesting sort of full circles that have been drawn. But you had blowback from coming on the program last time, which seemed like an entirely reasonable interview talking about your past as a vegan and why you don't advocate veganism. What kind of stuff did you receive?
The first thing, actually, I want to tell you is that I got a lot of really good feedback.
Oh, okay.
That the people who listen to your show or watch your show sent me, I would say, some of the most intelligent emails I've ever received. They were full paragraphs with like opening sentences.
Don't start off this interview with a lie, because I find this incredibly shocking.
Like grammar, they were full-fledged letters over email, which I'm not used to at this point. Everybody just tweets and that's the end of it. But these were
especially
long,
if they're vegans, they don't have the strength to type it all out. It's like, I hate.
That's about all. That's about all the brain can do at that point.
Yes.
But your listeners were very thoughtful. Your watchers, whatever you want, your audience, they were very thoughtful people, and they had really good questions. And I wasn't able to answer all of them, and I'm sorry for that. But I did answer as many as I could, and So they were very engaging people, and I know that on many, many issues we're not going to agree, but I was actually impressed with that. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I think a big reason is, we have these connections with people like Sargon and Dave Rubin, or you have Milo Yiannopoulos. I've been I don't lie about it. I'm a Christian conservative. I'm probably to the right of Attila the Hun. I'm more libertarian than conservative. But I always believe in a dialogue of more voices, not fewer, regardless of whether I agree on every issue or not. And just because I think that some of your views, I would say, are like wildly incorrect, doesn't mean that you don't have something to offer regarding nutritional science or a story where we can learn. That's how I try to approach it.
Right, and I would also add to that we're all kind of stuck with each other. I mean, we're animals that need habitat, and we are citizens that share a federal government, and many of us even share state and local governments. And, there's this thing that's the political body where there's a commonality that we share, and we have to find a way forward.
Right.
And this is where I don't understand this concept. You don't agree with people, you're not allowed to talk to them. How else are we going to come to agreement? And this, to me, just seems so basic to democracy, to a pluralistic democracy. I don't understand it.
Right.
I can't see another way forward. If we can't at least come to some agreements about how we're going to treat each other and how we're going to treat that common political body, then what are we left with? I mean,
well, we're left.
People like you and people like me are going to cross in the grocery store no matter what, and we've got to find a way to live together without killing each other.
Especially since we're both packing. So you want to be.
I know.
We got the environmentalist feminist firearm owner
with the bazooka,
and then we got
sure.
me, white privileged cis male scum carrying. Isn't that wonderful? You want everybody carrying. That way it keeps I keep her in check, she keeps me in check.
Keeps the conversation honest.
It keeps it honest. Well, so we talk about veganism, which listen. The people who are going to get mad are invariably. I know you lean more to the left. They're going to be leftist because of the whole veganism culture and the whole. I'm just sorry. It's just
a product of the left. There's
yes.
way more leftists who are into it than. Yes,
which is funny because you probably have way more conservatives who are farmers and who actually know where their food is coming from because they're the dumb rednecks out there, and now all the vegans are appropriating their culture, their farm-to-table culture. So that happened. You had thoughtful responses. You emailed me about this event that happened where you had some friends who were talking about privacy, bathroom privacy. Now, you're a feminist. You've been I would argue almost feminist extremist, I would say in some cases. But you have caught a lot of flack on the trans bathroom issue.
Mm-hmm.
And people, so explain what that's like to the audience and why that's the case, what your position is, because I don't want to misrepresent your position.
Right. So I would say the feminist position on this is that, we use the word gender to mean the social prescriptions and social stereotypes that men are supposed to follow and that then women are supposed to follow. And so there's very different personality types you're allowed to have. You're only allowed to be interested in certain things. So men are supposed to be aggressive and they're supposed to be active and they're supposed to take charge of their destinies. And women are the treasure at the end of men's hunt for meaning, and what they get is a woman. And so women are the pretty objects at the end of the day. And I grew up with a feminist mom who told me that that was bullshit and that I was allowed to have a life and I should go for it. Whatever it was I wanted to do, I should blaze a trail and make it possible for the women who came after me. And that's the life that I've tried to lead. And it meant fighting those stereotypes. I'm not just a pretty object. It shouldn't matter particularly what I look like. It should matter the content of my character is what should matter. And that's true for all of us. And we all should have human rights, and that should be universal. And all the ways that women are treated as second-class citizens around the world, this just seems so basic to me in the year 2016. But what the transgenders are saying is that, no, that gender is actually real in the universe in some, cosmic way, and that you can have a, quote, feminine personality in a male body, and that's wrong. Right. And so you have to fix one or the other. And the more traditional societies say, well, if you have that personality in that body, the personality is wrong and you should fight your personality and try to be more manly or try to be more submissive as a woman, one or the other, but your body's fine. And then the trans came along and said, well, actually, it's the opposite problem. If you have these personality traits, it's your body that's wrong, so you can change your body. So now they're inflicting all kinds of dangerous chemicals and really mutilating surgeries on younger and younger people to get them to fit into those same gender prescribed boxes.
Right.
So it's no longer okay to be a teenage boy who may or may not be gay, who knows? I mean, they're young, they're experimenting, they're still trying to figure themselves out at that age. But if you like things that are stereotypically feminine, you are now going to be transed.
Right.
Instead of somebody just saying, it's okay to like dance. It's okay to like sparkly costumes.
I think that's a great
It's
point.
okay to like dolls. You can be a person who likes cuddly kittens and be a boy. It's okay. And instead, they are fast-tracked now onto things that are going to permanently change.
We have to go to a break relatively, so I don't want to cut you off at that point. I think there's so many things initially that I disagree with, but I agree with you. It's a big irony to me that airbrushing these ideas of feminine beauty, horrible. Put Caitlyn Jenner and use all those same standards in a cover. She's stunning and brave, and it's just basically a walking stereotypical Barbie doll. That's what most trans women are. So this is an interesting discussion. Lierre Keith will be with us after the break. Stay tuned. No more hate mail. Some hate, just a little, some hate mail. A little hate mail. Welcome back to this very special celebrity edition of American Ninja Warrior. And next up, we have Sean King. Bob, of course, of noted Black Lives Matter notoriety.
He's a racist, Jim.
Perhaps self-loathing, he is an African-American, but leaves you guessing.
Athletics should be right in his wheelhouse, Jim.
I love my blackness. And yours. And yours. Hashtag and yours.
And that should be on full display here with the quintuple step. Oh, looking more sluggish than I anticipated.
I'd agree, Jim.
Well, Sean has a chance to redeem himself here, jumping to grab onto the rope as he slides across the, not quite the hops I was anticipating, Jim. And the next obstacle, of course, is jumping up to that rope to get, not quite the ability for hops I'd anticipated, Bob.
It's disconcerting, Jim.
Well, Sean King now finding his footing before he moves on to the log roll.
Let's hear it for blackness.
Oh, there you go, and he seems to be doing a celebratory jig.
Is that what that is, Jim?
Not quite the dancing ability one would hope, Bob.
Woo! I'm black. You know I'm black.
Matter of fact, one could almost argue that if it weren't for him repeatedly saying he's black, you'd never know.
That's right, Jim, but onto the log roll.
And he seems to be taking these steps very carefully. And he falls into the water.
And he appears to be drowning, Jim.
Well, I regretfully stand corrected, Bob. He truly is embracing his inner blackness. Stay tuned for more Celebrity Edition American Ninja Warrior.
Reach the wizard. Reach the wizard.
All right, glad to be back. Our guest, just Google vegan myths and you'll find her. And of course, you can send all your angry mail to her, not me, because
But CC,
I have enough to deal with as a cis white male, right? We get it. I'm scum. Go ahead, Lierre Keith. You were talking about this. I want you to finish up that point, and then I'll have a couple questions.
So what they've done is they've taken everything that I've been fighting my whole life and they've rigidified it further. So if you have any of the personality characteristics of, what's assumed to be feminine and you're male, now you have to have surgery and hormones to, quote, fix the problem.
Right.
And my point is there's no problem. There's nothing wrong with anybody can have any personality. It's just what we've got. And there's nothing wrong with liking sparkly stuff and cute kittens.
Well, they would claim it goes further if they're dressing up like a lady and going on down to the nightclubs. They're like, well, then let me go through with the full transition. They would argue that's more than personality.
Yeah, they would. And from this, I'm not going to budge. There's nothing wrong with anybody's body. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with anybody's genitals. And the fact that we are doing mutilating surgery on people's genitals, no, it's horrifying. This is a human right.
They are, I agree.
It's horrible. Horrible. And this is being done on younger and younger people.
Well, the worst thing, this, estrogen. I've talked about this, and we had a clinical psychiatrist on who talked about this. Who works with a lot of old people, and she says before we get on drugs, a lot of times testosterone replacement therapy, which you see now with old men, right away dopamine levels go up, their motivation levels go up. We know that testosterone is dopaminergic, and it helps with depression. We know that estrogen increased in men causes depression, causes mental illness, and it's very cancerous. It's toxic. We know that, but for some reason we're saying, well, now the science isn't in, but they're avoiding BPA to avoid xenoestrogens, which mimic estrogen in the body. I'm going to want to inject it directly into my testicles, however. We're cool.
Yeah, it's really horrible. And these kids are being chemically castrated, essentially. I mean, when you put them on puberty blockers and then you give them these cross-sex hormones, you are forever destroying their reproductive lives. And I don't know why that's okay to do to somebody who's 14. You can't even get a tattoo when you're 14. In some states, you can't pierce your ears, but you're allowed to forever destroy your reproductive organs. I don't know why there isn't a cold chill of horror going up the back of everybody's neck. I mean, what we are doing, it's back to the eugenics movement. I mean, we're sterilizing the unfit.
Right.
So if you don't fit into these certain social roles, well, we've got an answer for you. We'll sterilize you. We will do as much cosmetics to you as we can to make you fit.
Right.
And the whole goal to me was to overthrow that system, and instead they've just rigidified it further. So that's problem number one. Is just philosophically, there's a huge divergence here in opinion.
Well, let me go to where we diverge in opinion there, where you talk about the feminism issue. So obviously, it's no secret I've been very anti third wave feminist, particularly intersectional feminist. Now, my wife is a CEO of a company. She works. She's on the road right now. She does very well. She's independent. She's a strong woman. She comes in the program. She can't stand, quote unquote, feminism. So it's important to say that. Oh, this is, you hate women. No, it's because I love women. Now, you did mention something, for example, that men are taught that women is this sort of pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Well, no, every boy needs a dragon to slay, a battle to fight, and a princess to save. That's how they're bred. It's not that they're objectifying women. It's not the same as, smack that ass video. It's being attracted and wanting a good woman, finding a wife that is good. And I think to conflate that with objectification of women, respectfully, causes more damage in young men. For example, if we talk about young men feeling bad, it's because we've told them you have to be aggressive and it's okay to like kittens. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think a big part of it now is we're told, you see this at HuffPo Salon, everyone's secretly gay, no one's straight. And so guys get more concerned if it's okay to say, hey, I love you, Dad. Are you secretly gay? Hey, I like cooking. Are you secretly gay? And I think the left has really pushed a complex, particularly on young men, more than this idea of machismo, though both bear some responsibility.
Well, I think the biggest problem facing young men today, I'm not a young man, but just as an observer from the outside, is pornography. So
we've had a doctor on here on that. Have you had spoken with what's his name? Gary Wilson? Was it Gary Wilson?
That sounds right.
Your Brain on Porn? Yeah, he's talked about that. I don't know if you've read his stuff, but from a more.
Stuff, I'm familiar with it. I haven't read it extensively. I come at it obviously more from a feminist angle, but I think if there's anything that's destroying the souls of young men, that's it. And
yeah, and then there's some feminists who love porn too. You have
okay, so I don't call those people feminists. You can take that whole third wave thing and just throw it in the garbage as far as I'm concerned, because they've gone in completely the wrong direction.
I think someone can be a feminist and be pro porn and be wrong and still think it's empowering to women. I don't necessarily think it negates them from wanting what's best for women, and they just may be incorrect.
Yeah, I would say that, except they've amassed themselves into such a movement that's had an incredible impact across, especially the culture of young people. That's where I think I'd say it's not just a mistaken view, because it's bigger than that at this point.
Yeah.
They really are having a huge impact. And a lot of women are being turned off from actual feminism because that's what they find first, especially in universities, is that third wave stuff, which says, if you don't find it, if you don't embrace being a sexual object, that's what feminism is that it's all about your personal choices under this system, which at this point, the popular culture has been so taken over by porn culture that's it for if you're a woman. And so if you don't embrace that, even though you don't really have a choice about it, that's the only way you can find, quote, empowerment as a woman. And I'm not really interested in this concept of empowerment. I actually want women to be in power. I want us to have some control over the material conditions of our lives. It's not an internal feeling.
Right.
It's about the material structures. And that's the difference between the second waivers and the third waivers ultimately. They're making a deal with that power structure.
Well, a couple of things there. You do have some third-wave feminists who are pro-porn and anti-porn. I would think the first thing people see with them is more so screeching, and then they do the slut walk stuff, where it's all "don't objectify me, here are my titties." So there's an irony there, and I think their message isn't necessarily cohesive. But I would agree with you. I definitely think that it's taken a few steps backwards, and especially now they lie about rape culture and they try and guilt men. It's a never-ending guilt cycle. When you say power over your own lives, or you want women to have power, this is a genuine question. Where do you feel in the United States of America today women are not on equal footing with men as a form of systemic sexism?
Well, you can look at the economics of it, that women only make maybe 70 cents, per dollar that men make. So there's a tremendous amount of poverty. But for
I love
white
you as a
women,
guest, but that's incorrect. It's not anywhere close to it. We've talked. It's not a true statistic. It just takes the median salary for men and women. And I say this because I know we've all had an awakening on many different sides. This isn't really a right or left issue, but women actually, when you compare them working the same hours, same job, they make the same as men. As a matter of fact, in Europe, it's maybe 1 or 2 cents more than men. It's not fair to take a woman who chose a job as a nurse or who chose a job as a secretary to compare it to a guy who's on the road, 255 days a year. It's not an accurate statistic. That's just one. I want you to, but I can't let that one go because we've researched that really meticulously on this program.
So what happens is, as professions get open to women, the professions then get paid less. And if you look at this law, sort of more long term, we still have the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. And the reason they were called secretaries was because 200 years ago, writing was the province of only the most elite male people were the ones who were literate, and it was a big deal to be a secretary. And you see that those jobs are basically, they're just barely above minimum wage now. And so that's what happens over time. As women join a certain profession, it will then be degraded in terms of its status and also in terms of just the money that you get for it. And that's one classic example. And it used to be that, and this is where all this like sociobiology stuff just, is shown to be so social that, it used to be the idea that women were not good at languages, that only men were good at languages, because those positions were, again, high status and only men were literate. Now, of course, it's completely flipped. Now, women are the ones who are good at languages, but men are good at math. So those are going to be the positions that...
Well, actually, they can't. The truth is women don't want to go into math or science programs. If they want to, they have a free open spot with lower grades and lower test scores because women don't want to go into those positions. That's the reality. It's determined by the fact that in college, women don't want to go into those, and they're trying to find more women. I understand what you're talking about. I'm not saying there's never been sexism. I'm saying in 2016. And the reason I say it is because there are a lot of people who listen to you and have a lot to offer. And some like the pay gap, the wage gap, that's something I would hate for people to turn off because a quick search shows that that's not the case. But I do think you're right on a lot of issues, and I think we've come full circle here with the Triggly Puff and the anti-free speech. So we're actually having a dialogue about this. I think it's been pretty respectful. Do you think, though, you lean obviously more left than I do. Do you think there is a responsibility or culpability from the left for these kids now in college, which is obviously the biggest leftist echo chamber there is, who just don't believe in hearing other opinions? What is that like for someone like you who's been on that side of the spectrum for so long?
Yeah, so this has happened to me and to pretty much all of my colleagues, friends. We are now shut down everywhere we try to speak. So there's almost no point in me trying to get a gig at a university because I'll get the invitation and I can guarantee in 2 weeks it'll be rescinded. And this has been going on for about 3 years now. And it's exactly the Triggly Puff people who are doing this. And from your perspective, I know you would think, wow, these people are all on the same side, but we're not.
No, you're not all on the same side, but I do think, you don't find those people on the right.
At this point, no. This is absolutely a left phenomenon, and they've unleashed some kind of bizarre...
Kraken.
The genie's out of the bottle. I don't even know.
They've released the jiggly Kraken. Well, this has been happening to me for a decade. Because I've been doing stand-up, and I get banned from the Multicultural Fair for making fun of Muhammad.
Right.
And that's a perfect example. Feminists will get mad.
He's a silly guy.
Did you make rape jokes? Well, my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and we had a cancer joke off. We make jokes about everything. Of course, we've made jokes about Bill Cosby and the rape cases. Of course, we've made jokes about Lena Dunham falsely accusing rape. Of course, we've made jokes about Orlando nightclubs. We have to. That's what we do.
It's a blank canvas
But it's
for
the
jokes.
left that goes, you can't say that anymore. And I've been experiencing this for a long time. And so it's interesting to see, though, now you're saying about 3 years. I think that's a little newer for you. and this has been going on forever, and it's been coming from the left. You look in Europe, they don't have freedom of speech. It's exclusive to the United States. So I wonder if people who line up on the, like, what is an election like for you this cycle? It's got to be a nightmare.
You mean who I'm going to vote for president?
You don't have to say who, you can tell us who you're going to vote for, but there's no good choice for someone like you, I would imagine.
There's not. So it's always, what's always sort of dangled out there in front of you is, well, the Supreme Court. And so that's how I always end up voting, because that's, I mean, I'm going to vote. There's no point in not doing it. You might as well, just go ahead. But, it's just a tiny little bit of whatever. But no, none of these candidates represent me, and particularly in any way. But
do you feel concerned that the left is considering that you're sort of, I guess you were among them, I don't want to mischaracterize you, do you feel concerned that it's only going to get worse, and the left has to implode amidst this cannibalization?
Well, everybody keeps saying we're going to hit peak. We're going to hit peak trans, we're going to hit peak whatever, and I don't see it. This is really, this whole generation of them.
Who's peak the tranny?
Stop it. This is a nice lady.
I'm very, very frightened for the future. This is left-wing fascism. I don't know what else to call it. And
boom! Lierre Keith, environmentalist feminists use the term left-wing fascism. We have not been out of line, Jared.
No, this is a very true. These are people who need to understand the principles on which any democratic society is going to be based, and the free exchange of ideas is absolutely, it's just foundational. And they don't seem to understand that in the world there are a million people who don't agree with you, and you have to find a way to talk to them. And if we're going to move forward without killing each other, why were they not told this in nursery school? I don't really get it.
Well, because they're reading about Teddy the tranny now. That's what they're doing in nursery school.
There's some kind of huge divide that happened generationally that I don't know how to stop it. And you're right, they've taken over now the universities. And everybody that I know who teaches is terrified, because if you say one thing out of line, you are fired. Your career is absolutely, the tenure system is not even holding people up anymore.
No, it's not. Well, we're going to have to do a third segment because this is just too compelling. Lierre, please stay with us, and we'll have to go to our evil corporate overlords here. I think there's an ad for how to make a bomb in your house. I don't know how that made air. That shouldn't have been cleared. Stay tuned. Fast forward, 2017.
Can you believe that Clintons are back here in the White House, Mark? I tell you what, I never saw that coming. Oh, I did. It's good to be employed again. Looks like it's another stakeout for the Secret Service, boy. It's going to be a long one.
Okay, shut up. Oh, you see her coming up there?
You mean that little number coming up the walk?
Yeah, the blonde one. She's about 5'9". Cute. What do you think she is? 24, 25?
I'd say about 22.
All right, $10 says she uses the back door.
Okay.
Oh, she uses the back door. Oh, that dog, Bill.
That promiscuous bastard.
Well, I don't know what we expected.
I don't know about expect. I was hoping she might have a twin.
Okay, shut up, you old dirty man. Oh, okay, here's another one. She's a brunette. She's about 5'8". She looks like she works out. What do you think? Think she does Pilates?
I'd wager yoga.
Okay, yoga, I say 27.
I say about 24.
You always guess younger. Okay, is she going to use the back door? Bill might be a little active. Oh, damn it. Every time. I said I think you owe me $20.
Oh, wait, hold on. What in the Lord's name is that?
Oh, my God. Who is that?
She looks like Sally Cone had a baby with a gecko.
Yeah.
But like a gecko you tried to catch, so you tore its tail off and it got real puffy.
You mean like swollen?
As a defense mechanism.
Oh, with that shirt and the pants, it looks like when your dishwasher breaks and the suds run down the
side, yes. She looks like Lena Dunham raped through a time-warp traveling machine in older, wrinklier Lena Dunham.
And that haircut looks like she joined the Marines, but they stopped midway through the buzz because they felt bad about the shape of her head.
And it is most unfortunate when a woman is that overweight, yet there is a complete absence of breasts.
I know, it's like God played a trick on you.
It's like you lined up for the trade-off, and you signed on the dotted line, and then the other one reneged on the deal.
Oh, and the way she walks, either really has to go to the bathroom like in a way that it's a medical problem, or she's wearing clown shoes.
No, those are just Skechers. They're comfy shoes.
Oh, I think those are remember those shoes that were supposed to be
the fitness shoes, yes, that made you, that they worked your calf muscle.
Yeah, I think that's what those are.
She should get her money back.
$100 says she's lost.
My 401k says she's Hillary's.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Glad to be back, except not Gay Jared just surged that volume. He is not.
My fingers
He
tripped.
deserves to be fired this week. I tell you who does not deserve to be fired. She's a lovely guest. Lovely lady. We can use the term lady now. I don't know. Nothing is correct anymore. Google vegan myths. You'll find her. Lierre Keith, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me back again.
So, okay, you are... you're a feminist. That's actually a good question. If someone says lady, yes, ma'am, does that offend you?
At this point, there's so much worse going on in the world, I don't...
Okay. Well, because I had a lady one time say, yes, she said, don't ever say ma'am. I said, you prefer bitch? And she got really upset. And then we went our separate ways. And actually, that's true. She actually did say, I would prefer bitch or hoe to ma'am. It makes me feel old. I was like, wow.
Oh, that's absurd. I don't have a problem with ma'am. That just seems respectful. Like you'd call somebody sir. I mean, it's
Right.
you know, it's an honorific. It's
Yes.
You've reached a certain stage of life. You deserve a little respect. I don't care. I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Right. Well, we said lady. We didn't.
It's really
say
simple. Boobs? Bubes?
Bewbs.
Ma'am.
B-E-W-B. That's how we're
Tallywhacker?
spelling it. Stop it.
Sir.
This is a nice lady. So, okay, we were talking about this. Professors are terrified. Lierre, but this is, here's kind of my argument. There haven't been any conservatives. There haven't been any right-wingers. There haven't been any libertarians on campus, in the entertainment industry, in the environmentalists. Every area in which you would have considered to find your allies, it's always been very far left. And these are the places where freedom of speech doesn't exist. You don't see that on the right en masse at all. So I know you use the word Trigglypuff. Like, that right away eliminates you from the current modern left. They would consider that hate speech. Do you think that there is some semblance of these professors going, this is the monster we created. We created this. We created this over decades of indoctrination and far left education and blocking out conservative professors and alternative points of view. Is there at least some admission there, do you think, at this point?
Yes, I would say that there is.
Okay.
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Well,
and, I mean, I think there's a confluence of forces that, in hindsight, of course, these things seem more obvious, but you've got this tremendous culture of narcissism, and then you've got the way that unhooked itself from actual political movements that had, a serious program to create a better world. And without that, all you're left with is was identity politics, really. I mean, I think that's where the whole thing went wrong.
Right.
And I would say from the beginning, I'm someone who's been very critical of identity politics. I mean, these fights go back to the 80s for me. And that was something that I always had a problem with. And if you want me to talk more about that, I can. But that was really what created that monster. And I think that was a terrible mistake that the left made. And it's very ironic because, of course, the left was the backbone of the free speech movement, in the 60s, that really tried to open up the idea of speech as something that was so crucial on university campuses. And
Right.
people got arrested for it, and they really fought the good fight for it. And that was entirely a left project. And it's just now it's the left that's destroying it. And I don't think that we should back away from the history of the fact that there are left-wing fascists in history, just like there have been right-wing fascists.
Sure.
Joseph Stalin. I mean,
but the term, again, it kind of gets confused, right? People got really mad when I said Hitler was a liberal socialist. Oh, what do you mean? I mean, okay. I mean, he would be much more in line with a Bernie Sanders or a Hillary Clinton than a Ted Cruz. That's exact. And National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany, gun confiscation, higher taxes, identity politics, absolutely. And I will defend that position. Joseph, I don't think fascism, any authoritarianism, as far as sort of the constitutionalist perspective of right wing, they're irreconcilable. I mean, this is kind of my argument with like Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton or whoever it is. You can't say, well, the government needs to police our guns. The government needs to provide us with a minimum wage that's absurd. The government needs to provide us with health care. Government needs to provide us with housing. And then all of a sudden get upset when you've given all this authority to the government and, well, hold on, we want to hang on to our speech. I think just left-wing ideology lends itself to authoritarianism, fascism of any kind, and that's what we're seeing. You don't have to agree. I'm just saying that's the perspective. And I appreciate you coming on. You know, you don't have to agree at all. I'm not expecting you to. This isn't like Sean Hannity, like, yes, no, get out of here. You can say whatever you want.
Well, I think my point is that over history, you know, the last 100, 200 years, you can certainly find left-wing movements that have gone as crazy as the right-wing movements.
Yeah.
And I don't think it does us any good to pretend that that's not true. And on occasion, I mean, the reason I bring up Stalin is because I see these bizarre attempts to rehabilitate him sometimes as a figure on the left, and it just seems so bizarre to me. Like he killed 20 million people. Right. What is there left to say about him? There's just no way you can hold him up as somebody who, you know, was on the correct side of anything.
Right. Well, I think the reason it's pushback against people trying to say he was right-wing, which he clearly wasn't. Because the left just likes to say any mass murderer. Hitler was a Christian right-winger. No, he wasn't. Joseph Stalin was a right-winger. No, he wasn't. And so they go, well, actually, if anything, communist, socialist who disarmed people, raised taxes, we would argue more left-wing. I think that's the pushback, because all of this crap has been laid at the feet of conservatives for a while. And I think now they're saying, no, it's not true.
So the identity politics thing got going in the 80s, and I think that that's really what led us to where we are now, where you can only make a statement based on your own experience, and no one else is allowed to say that they, you know, have any compassion for that experience or any understanding of that experience. It has to be, you will never know what I've gone through, and I'm the only one who can speak with authority. And the moment that breaks the ability to actually make any kind of social movement.
Right.
Because to me, the point is to say, look, I'm a human being. I've been hurt in these ways. It matters because I'm a human being. And you're a human being, which means you can at least at some level understand that this is a terrible thing and it shouldn't happen to people. And that's why we have a concept of universal human rights. Nobody should get beat up. Nobody should be starved to death. Nobody should be put in a concentration camp. Like, that just seems obvious to me. And that's always, to me, that's what that urge for social justice is about. It's to say, but I'm a human being and I bleed just like you bleed, you know? And
keep your hate speech off this campus! Keep your hate speech off this campus!
That's what they say now. It's like, no, you can't say that about anybody. If you're white, you can't know what it is to be black. No, I'm not going to know the specifics of that experience, but I can see that people are being hurt in certain ways around the world, and there's a hierarchy, and it's wrong.
We have to go to a break. We'll do a web extended at some point here, and those listening, Lierre Keith, Vegan Myths. We didn't even talk about veganism. Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned. Thank you so much. We will have you back. Stay tuned, everyone. Keep your hate speech off this campus. Keep it off.
Sarge, you're going to want to see this.
Now, what is it, Johnson? I'm busy with...
Sorry, finally hacked into Hillary's email server.
Oh, my God.
I just fell into it by accident. I don't even know how I did it.
Well, don't just sit there. Let's get moving before it closes back up on us.
That's not how computers work, but okay. Let me check here. All right, in this email Oh, my.
Well, what are you yammering about? Oh, my.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with this, sir.
You're serving your country with pride. Now tell me what you're finding.
Well, I don't think it's exactly what we were looking for.
Is there anything regarding Benghazi or foreign donations?
No, none of that.
Perhaps cover-ups of Bill Clinton's indiscretions?
No.
All out with it, Johnson. What are you seeing there?
It is copious amounts of hardcore lesbian pornography.
Define lesbian pornography.
Well, a quick search through her history here shows hot-to-trot-lesbians.com, barely legal lesbian interns.com.
Disgusting.
Now they're legal lesbian interns.com.
That sounds positively hedonistic.
HBO Game of Thrones casting couch.com, unshaventreeladies.org. That one might be educational. I hate Bush,
butilovebush.com.
Did she do anything on that computer aside for depraved lesbian pornography? Well, it seems like she had a long-standing correspondence with Code Pink. Oh, that could be interesting. No, it's still pornography. It's not Code Pink. It's a different Code Pink. Well, it may not be pretty, but continue digging. What else is in there? Glad to be back. Glad to be back. I need a little more hearing myself on my headphones. Just a little bit so I can know that I sound okay. That's good. That's good, Not Gay Jared. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Third hour, producing with me in studio, as always, is Not Gay Jared. On Twitter at Not Gay Jared. I fulfill my legal obligations. Louderwithcreditor.com. We're going to have Gerald Morgan coming on after the break to talk about, we'll talk about a few things. We'll talk about Hitler, the idea that he was a Christian, because we have had people push back on that. I know Lierre just kind of said, well, these people certainly wasn't left. And a lot of people get mad when we've done videos and we've done columns on that. And it's not a position which I'll walk back. A National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany disarming a populace, increasing government size. I'll never allow anyone to lay that at the feet of the Christian right. But some interesting history there that Gerald can get into, and some interesting history regarding some of the misdeeds of the Christian religion. So we can talk about that, because we do talk about Islam a lot. We've been going up against jihad for well over 1,000 years. It's been an ongoing problem.
Not we personally, we haven't been around that long.
We have not been around that long.
But someone has.
So I do want to get into this. So this is important because we've released a lot of videos on Islam. I've been put on CARE's watch list. We've had to beef up security. People know this. Muslims inherently aren't very peaceful. Now, the biggest Islamic YouTube channel that I know of is Talk Islam. This is a huge YouTube channel. This man has gone after me specifically, claiming that I'm wrong, rebutting some of the claims that I've made, and while he's refused, of course, to come on the program. And he's the guy who's held out as the moderate Muslim. He's reforming Islam. He did the nothing to do with my prophet. Saying none of these things have to do with my prophet, though veiled, never really condemnation of terrorism. So I had my wonderful, I do research, but I also have some wonderful people. I can't take credit for it. R is his code name. Thank you, R, very much for helping with this. Since Talk Islam has gone after me and refused to come on the program, we decided to do some research. Moderate Islam, what does that mean exactly? Here's what we found out. So Talk Islam is a YouTube channel. Their biggest link, they don't operate on their own. I knew that. And it seems that their greatest partnership is with an organization called the IERA. IRA is what we'll use from now on. IRA, they've worked the Talk Islam guy. They've claimed credit for this guy over at Talk Islam. His name is Kamal Saleh. He does spoken word. So they've talked about him. They've taken credit for him. And he has had members of the IRA on his network. Members you can see right here if you're listening to Wrestling videos, where they're very friendly, they're very chummy. They've even hosted each other on each other's websites, and they've spoken on the same podiums doing events together. There has been a lot of cross-promotion between Talk Islam and IRA, the IERA network. There you go. You can see them right there on their website. I believe that IRA is what sustains the Talk Islam channel, kind of like Soros with some of the liberal YouTube channels. According to my research, that is the link. So now it matters. What does IRA believe? Well, let's start. Let's go in order of increasing disturbingness. Okay. How does IRA line? Where do they line up on wife beating? These moderate Muslims who work with Talk Islam. Well, guess what? One of their founding members, Abaruddin Green, said it's okay for men to beat their wives. Nothing to do with their prophet? Well, the organization that they work with says, to do with my, yeah, it's cool to beat your wives. So that's we're going in ascending order here. They also support the killing of adulterers. I guess more so adulteresses. They're big on that. This is IRA. They've supported the death of adulterers, despite the fact that one of the founding members was caught in an Ashley Madison hack. That guy, Zortzi, who you just saw in the previous video, who was on with Talk Islam, it wasn't just his name there, he had a credit card. So they advocate death for adulterers, wife beating, even though they were directly involved with the Ashley Madison hack. Where do they line up on, we've talked about this, Muhammad raping his 9-year-old wife, Aisha, married when she was 6, raped her when she was 9. That would seem relatively extreme. Again, we're going in order here. We're building a case. Where does IRA and Talk Islam, where do they line up on raping your 9-year-old wife? Well, they support it if it meets these conditions. We have a video.
This is our law. It's nothing to do with age. Now listen to the principles if we're principled. Number 1, is she physically fit? Number 2, is she emotionally ready? Number 3, is she mentally ready? Number 4, is it socially acceptable? Number 5, all of these different kind of principles that we apply. And it happened that there's an outlier from the statistics that a 9-year-old was physically fit, was mentally ready, was even given away by her own father and her tribe.
Yeah, there you go. So they support the raping of a 9-year-old. This is not extreme. Okay, these are the moderate Muslims out there. These are the ones with the biggest Talk Islam YouTube channel in existence. These are the best that they have to offer. These are the HuffPo, the Salon, the Slate Muslims. Let's get to something else, okay? You would think, right? Of course they hate terrorism. Of course they would condemn terrorism. Hashtag not all Muslims. Well, at these events where they speak, these summits, there have been representatives of IRA. Let me make sure I get this gentleman's name right here. Hussein Yee. Over there, who appeared alongside Talk Islam at one of these summits. Where do they line up on 9/11, which of course all moderate Muslims would condemn. Of course Muslims shouldn't be blamed for 9/11. Of course. Roll clip.
But the world is very unjust. Who is unjust? We? No. The Twin Tower is unjust? No. What is unjust is what is happening in Iraq is very unjust. What is happening in Palestine is very unjust.
Okay, first off, that's like...
So
that is,
don't worry about the Twin Tower.
Don't worry about the Twin Towers.
We have nothing to do with
Muslims have nothing to do with it. What's unjust is everything else going on. First off, that's a character.
What's unjust is that pubic little goatee on.
He looks like that character in Saving Silverman. It looks like a total, like we would do in cultural appropriation.
Somewhere Batman is looking for him.
It's a parody. So, again, pity party as opposed to saying, hey, we want to distance ourselves from Islam. This has nothing to do with my prophet. No, that's not what they did. Well, who do they think may have caused 9/11? These people, again, IRA, Talk Islam, these people who appear at the same conferences, interview each other, support each other, cross-promote each other. What do they want you to think really occurred with 9/11? Roll clip.
I know sometimes we feel, you know who is very happy when the Twin Tower is been attacked?
Who?
A group of Jews is so happy. In America, they were having party when they heard that the Twin Tower is been burned. They have a celebration, they have a party going on.
What's so funny is this is with Islam, it's just like Saul Alinsky 101. They're using the liberal tactics of accusing Jews of doing what clearly happened across the Islamic world. So 9/11, don't worry about the Twin Towers. It's not unjust, not like Palestine, not like Iraq, and it was the Jews who were celebrating. Muslims had nothing to do with it. I'm just saying the Jews were celebrating. Let's go through the order here. Well, first off, final one that we have to address. Hopper is coughing up right now. Of course, Muslims don't like dogs either, so that's another thing. They wouldn't be a big fan of the Hopper. We have this. Where do they line up on killing people who convert from Islam? Apostates, people who leave the faith. Again, this is a, I want to make sure I get the name right here. This is a founding member. Different name. Where's his name? I don't have his name right here because I have so many clips up.
It's the other red PB beard one. And
no, wait, sorry. This is another one. This is another one from IRA, how they feel about Jews. That's right, agreeing on the Jew front. So let's go real quick.
There are two cases.
Why don't you take the Yehudi over there, far away, okay? So his stench doesn't disturb us, okay? That's right. And then you can go and talk to him over there.
Okay, so there you go. Jews smell. They caused 9/11. We get it. So here's something else. This is not IRA, but Kamal Saleh, Talk Islam, also appeared at the 2016 At the Peak Muslim Conference, which hosted speakers. Again, this is a guy who's pushing for moderate Islam. So you shouldn't be. These are the people with whom he's associating. Am I saying that it's one or the? No. But we're building a case here. At this exact same summit, Saleh appeared alongside Dr. Muhammad Salah. And
there are two cases. If a person entered Islam willingly or was born in Islam and is fully aware of the Aqidah, then he accepted Islam. There is a general consensus between the scholars that Haddur Ridda, or the punishment for Ridda, is execution. And by the way, this is not something unprecedented. Even today, in today's world, secular states have a similar punishment, more or less, in cases of somebody whom they think that is a threat to the society.
I'm going to go with less. Kill people who leave Muslims. So again, this is let's recap this here right away. Talk Islam works with IRA. IERA. They work together. They both claim credit for each other. They both host each other. And they both put on, I'm assuming, funding these summits with all of these Muslim speakers, where either directly expressed by the people in IRA or Talk Islam, or people that they have hosted, have condoned wife beating, have condoned killing adulterers, have condoned Muhammad raping his 9-year-old wife, have said that 9/11 was not done by Muslims and that the Jews were the ones celebrating. Direct members of IRA have said, get these Jews out of here, stench. They're clearly very anti-Semitic. And at these events, they did advocate for killing of anyone who leaves Islam. Nothing to do with my prophet. When you add this all up, is it all that surprising that Talk Islam / IRA has had many of their members join ISIS? 5, to be exact, if we put a number on it. 5 members of the organization have joined ISIS. So, Talk Islam, nothing to do with my prophet. This is a challenge issue to you, sir. You're welcome to come on this program. We always wondered why he refused to flat out just condemn terrorist acts. You know what I mean? Just say, this is wrong, horrible, we need to reform Islam. It's always some generalized, nothing to do with my prophet, spoken word, awful poetry. This is terrible, my prophet was handsome, but never really any direct condemnation of these ideas or policies. Why? Because they support it. They've gone out of their way. He supports it directly at Talk Islam. IRA supports it directly, or they directly host people who advocate for these policies. Here's the deal. Like with Clockboy, like with CARE, you never have to dig that far with any Islamic organization to find direct ties to terrorism. Always. From the restaurant that I used to go to in Ann Arbor, funneling money to Hamas, to CARE, to now IRA and Talk Islam, you cannot avoid it. At a certain point, you have to say this isn't a small minority when the people they're holding out as these moderate reformers are still preaching and working with the people who preach the same stuff. Do you have any idea how many degrees of separation you would have to get? You'd have to go through to connect us to Westboro Baptists, who still haven't done anything this bad. You couldn't do it. Challenge is open, Talk Islam. Gerald Morgan next. Stay tuned. There's got to be more there, Johnson. I'm looking. There's lesbianhousewifefantasies.com. There's recently divorced lesbianhouseholdfantasies.com. Oh, I can't even open this one. Johnson, it's your duty to your country. Oh, okay, that's not as bad as I thought. What is it? No, it was just an ad for Depends. Disgusting. This one seems like she might have been frequenting a scrapbooking site. I've never known her to scrapbook. Well, that's just because it's scissormesecretary.com. I can see how you'd be fooled by the header. There's brawburninglesbians.com. This folder just seems to be a bunch of grossly photoshopped pictures of Rachel Maddow. Oh, here's a thread between her and Lena Dunham. Now we're getting somewhere, Johnson. And it's just Lena Dunham sending her a link to fatnakedlesbianseatingcake.com. I'm noticing a trend. Yeah, it really just goes on like this, and there seems to have been a $3.99 rental for Boys Don't Cry and a few hours at Feminist Frequency. Dear God, Johnson. The commissioner won't be happy to hear of this. I don't know what to tell you. Might I see that folder of Rachel Maddow one last time? What? Glad to be back. Guile. Street Fighter theme makes everything better. If you're listening terrestrially, sorry. I know every now and then we get complaints from people listening terrestrially. I don't like their selection of music. Oh, no. I like that Rush uses other music, but is still hip.
but doesn't use the bad music. I would prefer if you don't use the bad music.
We're going to continue using the bad music. As always, we have our next guest, who is a rocket scientist, brain surgeon, has 3 PhDs, very knowledgeable. He's traversed the globe several times. He's in studio because we'll be hanging out for the 4th of July at G. Morgan Jr. Gerald, thank you for being here, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That was fantastic theater just a minute ago, by the way. I couldn't hear the music, but I could see the music being played out in front of me. Bravo, sir.
That's because
Bravo.
we're too cheap to afford another set of headphones.
Well, that too. I was going to avoid that topic, but yeah.
We do not have a lot of the money there.
Of the money, the
of
funds.
The money. Move,
yes.
Scooch in.
Oh,
You're too far away. You're leaning over. It makes me uncomfortable. No one's ever seen you on camera. There you go. Can we see him?
Oh, there we go. Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, I'll come back in a sec.
He has no idea how to use a real microphone. Not Gage.
Wait. This is not like the little snowball mic.
No,
I don't just like
You're
hold it in my
into
hands.
it, and this has started off horribly.
This has started off terribly.
This is awful. The show's a nightmare. I don't know why we even do it. And then some people even think they want us to go daily. It's never, ever, ever going to happen.
Should I be kicked off? Is that what should
Well,
happen
you will
here?
be kicked off. You will fetch us
fantastic.
some malted beverages afterward, and you can partially redeem yourself.
That sounds pretty good.
So you were listening earlier. We were talking about Talk Islam. And you and I have done rebuttals to their points, but you probably didn't know all of that behind the scenes.
No, I did not know all of the behind the scenes. And I think you made a great point that you were just building a case. You're just kind of making one argument on top of another to build a case that shows you that there are very few degrees that you have to go through to see the separation between what seems to be a legitimate front to talk about whatever issue it may be within Islam and actual terrorist ties.
Right.
And I don't think, like you said, that there's any way, shape, or form that there's a connection or even a close connection at all between us and, say, a Westboro group like that. And like you said, they're not even out there doing anything like this. They're just protesting and being idiots.
Right. I mean, it's horrible. No one likes them. But
no,
of
course not.
A God hates fag sign from Westboro Baptist is not the same as, beat women and kill.
Well, and it's not the same as, holding that sign up as you're throwing an actual gay guy off of a building. Okay, there's a huge difference between the speech
and it has
element.
14 members, I think. Like, all of them are family. It's one of those things that the leftist media. Who's that? Those people on YouTube. It's not Secular Talk who refuses to debate. Not that guy. I don't know. There's someone else who constantly just has, because Westboro Baptist, they just send out pressers all the time. And so that's all they want is press. And so liberals are the ones who acquiesce because they can go, look, see, there are extremists on both sides. But that's their entire reason for existence. And everyone knows there's no members.
Right.
So anyone who hosts them is a hack.
They're a bit of rabble rousers.
Right. Well, remember they tried to do with Ted Cruz, his dad? His dad said, I believe that God wants my son to be president. Something like that. Something very sort of Pentecostal sounding, charismatic.
Oh, yeah.
And that was enough for people to get just outraged. Well, what if that guy was saying, yeah, you could kill apostates,
Well, that would totally change the game for us. I mean, there's a lot of people that we could get rid of that we don't really like. We shouldn't do that, though, right? Right?
It's not a good idea.
But
it generally ends badly.
But Islam, it's okay for them. I mean, why not? Look, if we're going to be painted with the same brush as far as being radicals, maybe not killing. I get
Bad
it.
all immigration for the Muslims.
Well,
Don't let them come in. Except now this week, maybe some Muslims. A little bit. Maybe 3.
Can we just send them all to Ohio? Are we all good with that? Can we all get on board with that?
Well,
sorry, any Ohioans out there listening, I apologize. I lived in Cleveland, so I have a little bit of street
It's okay.
cred.
Well, Ohio would turn red very quickly with the blood of the innocent, not exactly the electoral map. So we were talking about that. Well, you and I were talking about something earlier today. We were talking about Islam, and it led into... we were talking about Hitler. It isn't. So we've been fighting jihad for a long time.
Yes.
Here's the deal. One thing I've talked about. I've never heard anyone else say this, but when they throw against Christians, they go, well, Christians are extremists too.
Right.
Okay, they go Leviticus. They start quoting Old Testament. And I go, hold on a second. You can't just lob that at Christians and not at Muslims because they claim to use the Bible as well.
Yes.
So they have that plus Muhammad and the wife beating and the pedophilia and the killing of the Jews.
Right.
So everything that you would throw toward Christians, Muslims claim to use those same books, unless you say, well, they don't really believe them. Aha, well, why? Well, because Muhammad said that the Jews lied with the blessing of Abraham amidst his war against hating the Jews. So either way, it's bad.
Well, I think the point that you and I were making is that we have to acknowledge the history that we have, right? There's been some really dark history within the Catholic Church, within Christendom, basically, until... the Reformation, and then within the Reformation. So we've done some things that aren't all that great, and we can't sit around and say, no, that didn't happen.
Right.
But you can't equate the two. It's not the same thing. We're talking about historical things where people have obviously perverted the religion.
Right.
Right. It is absolutely, without question, 100% not biblical what they did.
Right.
This, on the other hand, I think you have made a great series of points through different videos and conversations that you've had, this segment that you just did, that Islam does promote this kind of stuff. And that's where they get it from. They get it from their book. And if you read the Bible and you read it through and understand it, and if you read the Quran through and understand it in context, it's two very different books. One that's calling for jihad and one that's calling for you to love people. Like, the ultimate goal for us is to preach forgiveness and love to people, right, as Christians. That's our end goal. If somebody says they don't want to believe, fine, fantastic. We let God sort that out whenever he's going to do that. In Islam, it's not that.
Right.
You try to convert. If they don't want to convert, you know the process. Pay the tax or die.
Right. Oh, exactly. A few important points there. And this is why I don't talk about my faith as much on the show, because like that secular talk guy, all I said was, hey, yeah, he's welcome to come on the program, or I'll go on his program to have a conversation. And he said, I will do it once you deny zombie Jesus, start acknowledging climate change, and don't say Hitler is a liberal. I mean, oh, what a world it would be if conservatives could just say, oh, someone who doesn't accept that climate change is man-made and it will have such catastrophic results that the government needs to step in. If they have nothing to offer the world, you know, they have nothing to offer. I think Sam Harris is wrong. Therefore, he has nothing to offer anything else. Lierre Keith is a liberal. Therefore, there's nothing anyone could offer me regarding nutritional science. We don't do that. And that is a tactic of the left. And when people go, whoa, zombie Jesus, it doesn't matter the kind of case you make. So I just try and we're open about it, but it's a really hard case to make for people who simply aren't going to hear it. However, and Sam Harris has talked about this, who is a noted atheist, and we'll bring you back. We have a few breaks to get into. So let me take this because we have to go to a break. I know you're going to have more time. The Jews, for example, the Old Testament is a very brutal, violent book. However, they don't have a clear concept of heaven, hell, martyrdom. That's why you don't see them go out and do as much missionary work. They believe they're waiting for the return of God, and he'll sort things out. Again, theology matters. Christians have had a Messiah, and he has instructed them to go forward, and how you get to heaven, there will be a certain number of people who need to be reached, the Gentiles. So once you add that concept of the Messiah has come, well, then that changes things. And that's the difference between Christianity and Islam, because then Muhammad has come, and we get into martyrdom, and it's your duty to make it happen. Louder with Crowder. We'll be back with Gerald. He'll take the floor. Welcome back to this very special celebrity edition of American Ninja Warrior. And next up, Bob, because we always want to be inclusive. Here on American Ninja Warrior, the always inspiring Stephen Hawking.
He's a shining beacon for us all, Jim.
I am brilliant. God is dead. I will defeat the course. God is dead.
Of course, as usual, taking this opportunity to express his rage at God, Bob, for making him the monstrosity that he is.
He's hard to look at, Jim.
Well, let's see how he does with this course as he approaches the quintuple step. Oh.
I think we all saw that one coming, Jim.
Yes, upon reflection, poor decision-making from executives at NBC.
It's a tragedy, Jim.
Oh no. I should have seen this coming. Fuck me. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Son of a...
Stay tuned for more Celebrity Edition American Ninja Warrior. All right, glad to be back. Sorry for those who lost the stream digitally. What happened is Facebook cuts us off after 2 hours, so you can then go watch it on YouTube or louderwithcrowder.com. We apologize. We have no control over it, but we are back. Rocket scientist, brain surgeon, noted scholar Gerald Morgan is back at G. Morgan Jr. You're welcome, because no one knew who you were before this program, and people really liked your voice, and they were like, he's a smart guy, and they started following you.
He's a kind fella. We like the sound of his voice, yes, and I appreciate it. It's fantastic. All the degrees and the honorary awards that I've been given, and the intergalactic, geology I was the first person, by the way,
geology
to get that.
even can that occur intergalactically?
Well, yeah, of course, absolutely. I have no idea. But
space rocks.
Space
Rocks, I guess.
Yes, not geography, geology,
Okay,
right? So I was the first person to get it. I actually gave the award to myself. It was a
little known fact.
award.
All geologists are against fracking, according to that feminist at the festival.
I actually know one that's not. And if we're going to talk about people who can't contribute to society, wouldn't it be feminist at the top of the list?
Yeah.
Even though I watched your segment earlier and she did have some good points and we did learn from one another.
I don't put her in the same category.
I know, yes.
I mean, at one point I would. I don't think she'll be even a second wave feminist within a few years. I don't think Lierre Keith can.
Are the waves like strings? Like, first string is like the really, really good.
Third wave is all about trannies and bathrooms.
Okay, yes.
That's really what it comes down to.
Well, that's freaky.
Yeah,
who didn't like trannies? Hitler. Yeah.
Oh, there's a segue. Okay, so here's another thing we talked about. We've talked about how obviously economically, politically, Hitler was not right wing. Well, let's just get over it. Of course he was. If you want a classical liberal, no. Was he left wing? Of course. Socialist, bigger government, disarming, yes. Social engineering, left wing. There's just no way. People try and say, well, he was nationalistic. There are plenty of left wing nationalists. It has nothing to do with right wing. But people try and blame him and say, okay, he was a Christian, and that's an example of atrocities committed in the name of Christianity. You and I were talking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to do just a little bit of history, and I won't go too much in depth, but we've got early church fathers started to have to allegorize Scripture because they were preaching this message of Jesus coming back and overthrowing.
Hold on, let me say to preface it, because you're jumping ahead a little bit.
I did.
Hitler was not a Christian.
Yes.
Okay? Hitler did not do this in the name of Christianity. But it is dishonest if conservatives don't acknowledge that the only way that groundswell of what happened with World War II was able to happen was because of an anti-Semitic environment that was in fact bred through centuries of a Christian environment. We cannot deny that.
No, not at all.
Hitler was able to, he wasn't a Christian, he didn't do it in the name of Christ, but he was able to do it because there were a lot of Christians who had been bred to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, he co-opted the movement essentially. He co-opted, he was basically the person who could, for lack of a better word, execute the plan.
Right.
And take that anti-Semitism that was underneath the current and then that had bubbled over and actually do something about it, right? Instead of just sitting around. So the early church fathers, instead of Jesus coming back and overthrowing this horrible, wicked, hypocritical government and installing this righteousness and his kingdom on earth, they couldn't say that because the government was the one paying their salaries at the time. So you can't really go to your boss and say, oh, you're terrible. Somebody's going to come along and replace you. By the way, can I get a raise? Just doesn't usually work very well. And so they had to allegorize Scripture. And so what happened is you got this replacement theology, which means that the church replaced Israel. All the promises, everything, because Israel rejected her Messiah, now all of the promises that were for her, now for us. And that means that she's cast out. Even though Paul hammers away for 3 chapters in Romans on Israel not being finished yet. It's absolutely clear that they're not. But what that led to is people saying, aha, if we're the ones now that are people of the promise and they're not, we don't have to care as much about them. We can dislike them. We can say that they killed Jesus and use that as grounds for whatever we want to do. It happened here in the United States. We just didn't have somebody going after it like they did in Europe.
Right.
And there were many countries that had little Hitlers, people that really did not like Jews, but nobody put it all together like he did.
Right.
And he was psychotic.
So even as a Christian and a Christian apologist, we were being fair, you do acknowledge that there was an environment, unfortunately, bred through a corrupt church.
Correct. Yes.
That Hitler tapped into.
Yeah, and Catholicism, for all of the wonderful things that they've brought to us over the years, there's also some very, very dark pages in its history. Nobody is served well by glossing that over. Because there are some hurts that people have from that. Centuries-old hurts, right? Maybe it's time to get over it. I mean, it was about 1,000 years ago or so. Maybe it's time to move on. I don't know. But at least it shows you why we're going where we're. I love you, Catholics. It's okay.
Well, yeah, sorry. Listen, we get emails like Catholics need to stop being so touchy.
Yeah, don't be
He's not. We're being honest historically right now, because otherwise what happens is someone comes in and says, well, I don't even acknowledge this, but we're being honest about Hitler, and that allows us to therefore be honest about jihad, about Islam, with historical context. And this isn't necessarily an indictment, certainly on Catholic people or even actual authentic, perhaps, Catholic theology, but how the church implemented it.
Right. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to preempt an argument. Unfortunately, there is so much information to go through with these things. You can't get it in a 15-minute segment. Right. And so what we're trying to do is preempt the argument that they're going to throw back and say, aha, the Crusades. And boom, 15 minutes runs by for trying to defend what really happened.
Right.
And you don't get to the reason that we're here talking about this is because Islam is blowing people up consistently throughout the world.
Right.
It continues to happen. And until we start talking about that, we're really missing the point. So we don't want to deal with all these other issues. So we give you a little bit of the history here on Louder with Crowder. It's fantastic.
Well, I do think it's important, and I would love to have Sam Harris in the show because he's made those points, and I agree with those points. And a lot of times people go, why don't you talk more about your faith? Well, why? Because there are some points that need to be conceded, and you need to provide that context first. I am not in the business of apologizing for all of Christians' misdeeds, because there have been a lot.
Yes,
now,
of course.
So we can get into the theology, you can get into the principal philosophy of Islam versus Christianity, and I've argued that they are very different. And of course, you can get into the pragmatic side of what's happening today in 2016. But I feel like we need to be honest there, especially with our atheist audiences. Even if you think, oh, this is flying spaghetti monster, and I get it, you read Hitchens once. Imaginary fables, if it's what you believe, and I believe it's an entirely tenable position, can still have very real world influences.
Absolutely. Perception is reality. In this case, people perceive that there is a God, and so our reality has been shaped by that, sometimes for good in Christendom, in my opinion, and sometimes for bad in Islam and other religions. So you get some good in some of the religions, but a lot of times you get so much bad that you've really got to start taking a look at the roots, and you did that when you compared their two central figures. I mean, that was the easiest thing to do, right? Jesus versus Muhammad. Just go to those guys. If everybody else, that's not my religion, fine. We'll go to your biggest pillar of faith you've ever had.
Well, and abrogation you've talked about is very important because Muhammad became increasingly violent. So that's why I say, they throw the Jews under the bus with the Old Testament.
Right.
Even then, the Old Testament is still nowhere near as bad as the Quran.
No.
Because it is during specific times of war and addressing specific people. However, one could argue, there's still a lot of the Jews should be people to look out for. Well, big difference is, again, they're thinking God is coming back to sort it out. That changes the dynamic of the religion, where you're going, okay, there have been some errors, we're waiting for the Messiah. They don't really believe in heaven or hell, and so they're not concerned. There's not a guaranteed right to go to heaven through martyrdom.
Right.
So, more comparable, I would say, is Christianity and Islam, because in Christianity you have Christ, who is the Messiah, and in Islam, even though he's not a deity, Muhammad is their holiest prophet. He's the final word.
Right.
And there's very clear-cut heaven, hell, how you get there at that point. And that's why there's a differentiating factor. So give us kind of an example how those would diverge. Like, they both believe in end times, right?
Yeah, so for us to bring about the end times, there's actually a part in the New Testament where Jesus is talking about the end, and it says, until the fullness of the Gentiles come in, and then the end will come, right? I'm kind of truncating a scripture there. So there's a number of Gentiles. You and I, Gentiles, we're not Jewish, so we're Gentiles.
Jared's a Philistine.
Well, absolutely. I've known that for quite a while. Got a donkey jawbone over here with your name on it, buddy. Man, that was a Bible joke, and I'm not sure anybody got it.
Anyone who knows anything about Samson.
Gosh, if
By the way,
anybody got
Samson
that,
was a dumbass.
Tweet us, all right? Because that was unique.
Yes.
You're a niche person.
This is a niche. This is a niche market. I haven't talked about that. Samson was an absolute moron with Delilah, right? Yeah, it was Delilah, where he's like, tell me how someone can defeat you if they tied me with fresh ropes. And he wakes up tied with fresh ropes, and every time he gives her some specific instructions, and then the next day she does it. And then he's like, well, you know what? I trust her. I'm going to give her the real way, cut my hair. I'm like, what? Sorry, but continue.
It's like the Bobbitt story. It's like, here's what you do to defeat me.
And
it happened. Yes, men don't do that. I kind of got derailed there. I apologize.
No, well, but compared to Bobbitt, hair is child's play. So.
Well, yes, exactly. But the end times. So the way that we bring about the end times, if that's our goal, like if we want to read there, we go out and we tell as many people as possible that freedom from sin has come, right? That somebody has come to pay the price for you. Okay, that's us. Islam, you want to bring about the end of days, you have to cause so much havoc and war that the Dajjal will come back. And the 12th Imam, there's some books written about this, really interesting stuff, that he'll come back only when there's all this chaos and destruction going on, and you have to start it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, guys, if you really do think the end times are near, I have no idea. Could be 1,000,000 years from now or 5 years from now, whatever. Your goal is to go out and create as much chaos as possible. Why do you think ISIS is taking the land that they're taking?
Right.
That's specifically so that they can bring back the 12th Imam.
Right.
That's the deal. That's the whole process.
Point, heaven and hell at that point, because Jews don't necessarily believe in that, but heaven and hell can be used for very different influential purposes.
Well, Jews do believe in heaven and hell. They have a little bit of a different. There's multiple kind of layers.
They believe in
to
layers
it, maybe.
of punishment.
Yeah,
but they don't believe in hell in the same way that Christians.
Right. So there is the only way for someone who believes in the religion of Islam to go to heaven. The only guaranteed way, right, is through dying in jihad. Right, dying in the struggle. It's not an inner struggle. You don't die with an inner struggle.
Otherwise, it's a weighing of your deeds. People know there are other ways, but that's the only guaranteed way.
The weighing of your deeds can even come down to the mood of God that day.
Yes.
There is no guarantee. He could be in a bad mood and your deeds could be good.
Right.
but you can still not get in. That leaves you with a very, very kind of tenuous position to be in. I don't know if I'm going to heaven or hell, and if they are as good and as bad as they're described as, I really want to know. I'm either going to Texas or Ohio. Like we said, we'll go back to Ohio. I don't want to go to Ohio if I don't have to, right? If I can guarantee myself to go to Texas, that'd be fantastic. So, again, Ohio, I'm piling on. You won a championship. You got it. You got the championship. I was cheering for you. You can take it now. You're part of the team.
Not get Jared stayed after we recorded this show to watch the cast. Oh, okay. We'll break from this real quick, and then we'll come. So hold that thought on Islam. Tell them the story about Andrew Bogart. Bogart. Andrew Bogart. So Andrew Bogart, what does he play for? The Warriors? I know nothing about basketball.
He plays for the Warriors.
He follows me, and Jared is a huge basketball fan.
This was a nightmare, okay? This is a nightmare because he's an anti-social justice warrior guy, like very open. Get out of here. Very open about it. I can see you. Very open about it on his Twitter profile and stuff. We have 2 minutes. So we were like, okay, this would be a great guest. He follows Ben Shapiro, he follows Milo, a lot of people we run in circles with. So he's like, okay, this would be great guest. And I said, hey, if we could reach out to him, get him on the show.
And I reached out to him, I direct messaged him,
he's like,
and
yeah.
He messaged back.
He's like, yeah, man, great, big fan of the show. Love Jean-Guy. Like, so clearly he's like a fan who follows. Like,
well, don't throw him under the bus. He may not want people to know, but he was very kind at the very least.
Very kind at the very least.
Now hold on, pause, because then I get a text from Not Gay Jared saying, yeah, he would be. It'll never be hotter than right now.
He plays for the team the Cavs just beat in the finals.
You didn't say beat.
Yeah, the Cavs just. That's exactly.
So I saw him say plays for the team in the finals.
So Crowder.
I don't watch basketball at all.
No, the bigger problem is you don't read in text messages. That was the takeaway here.
So I send him a message, and it will be a marvel if he comes on this program. I totally admit, screw up. I don't know anything about basketball. I was relying on Jared.
By the way, he was injured. He was injured in game 4 or 4 or 5.
So to add insult to injury, I said, hey, thanks so much.
You said, speaking of which, we had another SGW drop on the show. A chance to get a spot for the program. And congrats on the big win.
Congrats on the big win. They lost, Gerald.
I texted you.
I know. Well, I didn't, you son of a crap. I didn't know this.
So I
don't watch basketball. I don't go to gay pride. I don't spend time in Orlando nightclubs.
So I text you. It's 1 a.m.
It's not too soon. Screw you.
It's
Send
1
your
a.m.
emails to
I text
Jared.
You. I'm just because I read that and I just like I go. I'm hysterical. I'm like, this is the funniest stuff I've ever read in my entire life. And I text him 1 a.m. I'm like, you idiot.
He said you just
effed us.
It was like Joe
He
Pesci.
lost.
You just effed us. He was.
You congratulate him for losing. You dumbass. You effed us.
Oh, wait, was that the last segment with Gerald?
It is last segment. We have 10 seconds.
All right, we'll go to break. We'll have him back. We'll wrap it up, and then I'll wrap up the show with a nice. But we'll talk to you. Stay tuned. If you leave, I'll hurt myself.
Now listen, Harpo, you can't take it personally. We had to try and do something. This is business. It's nothing personal, right? Yeah, I don't think the kid knows the way that it works. Listen, Hopper, you understand. You're a forgiving guy, right? Big Squirrel understands that Hopper's a winning ticket. We want to be in business with Hopper. Big Squirrel and Hopper works. Can you read between the lines?
Hopper understands. Hopper understands that you will die now.
Hopper. Oh my.
No deal.
Well, there you are. You're still here. You're watching this podcast on YouTube, likely. Did you miss the live stream Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on YouTube or Facebook? Either way, you can also subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud for the audio version with additional commercials and take it with you on the go. Or louderwithcrowder.com, which is mobile friendly, so you can take it with you wherever. It's pretty cool. Isn't that right, Hopper? He likes it. Okay, but you're driving later, that's enough. Glad to be back with you. Last segment of Louder with Crowder. Hey, Jared, bring up my screen here. I want to bring this up. Credit to Ruby_Red_13 for this graphic that they animated. You see that, Gerald? We have the best fans, and I love that they're horrible
awesome.
to us sometimes, too.
Oh, they're jerks.
Unbelievably cruel, and I would have it no other way. All right, back. We have to wrap up the point with Gerald, and then we'll wrap up the show. So, Gerald, we were talking about... What were we talking about before we had to tell the Andrew Bogart story?
I think we all lost track of what we were talking about.
Okay, so the difference, the final influence of Muhammad, and if you believe there's heaven and hell versus Christians. So to bring about...
Right, so to bring about the end times, to bring about the end deal, we talked about that there's only one way to do that in Islam, prescribed, right? And there's only one way to be sure that you're going to heaven, for sure, 100%. Christians, we can have that certainty just by professing with your mouth and believing in your heart that Jesus.
Well, I don't want to talk about when you die. I want to talk about the actual Armageddon, end times, revelations.
Yeah.
For Christians, there's a ticker, and it's once these amount of people have accepted the Lord.
We don't know what the number is, so there's not a number or anything like that, but it says when the fullness of the Gentiles come in. So that means
that's
that
when you
there
get
is
your
a number.
signing bonus.
That's when
when you
well, that's when God looks over to
people.
Jesus and says, "Go get them." So, by the way, guys, I just want to say, if there's anybody out there that's a holdout right now, you're holding the rest of us up. Can you please make this happen so we can get out of here? Have you looked at the news lately? It's pretty bad out there. So,
yes,
I'm ready for a monarchy to come into place, just a really good one. Okay. So, I'm fine with that if it happens.
That's okay. We can toss Jared in as a queen. So that's Christians. Whereas with Islam,
it's chaos, war, battles. The final battle of Armageddon actually directly overlays the biblical version of the end times as well, but it's flipped. Everybody in the Bible that they tell you is the bad guy, in Islam they tell you is the good guy. It really freaks you out just a little bit. So they actually do have Jesus coming back, and they love to talk about Jesus as a great prophet, but what they don't tell you is that Jesus is subservient to Muhammad when he comes back. He actually gives Muhammad the front stage and kind of steps back into the back. So I don't understand why they don't just kind of come out and say that. They're trying to kind of grab people from Christianity and say, no, we like Jesus too. Everything's cool. You guys can come over to our side, but we're going to kill a lot of people.
Right.
And there's a verse in the Quran that says, Muslim warrior, come and kill the Jew that is behind me. It's a rock speaking. I guess rocks can speak occasionally.
Well, they were influenced by Jim Henson.
Well, yes, indeed. There's been some strange things with rocks and stones crying out in both biblical and Quranic texts, but in the Bible they praise Jesus. And
Come
in
on
the Quran,
down to
they
kill you, rock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's.
That was a Fraggle Rock reference. Only I tied it into killing Jews.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
I just did.
I don't know that you can though.
All right, we got to wrap this up because I have to wrap up the show because people don't want to hear you.
Well, I think they do, especially my boys in
not
the
your
community
show.
group. They're listening. Just saying.
Well, your boys, you're gay.
My guys that I do live with at church. Are you serious?
Good Lord.
Goodness.
And
And
we were
one of them's
getting-
from Ohio, and he was crying. He was crying.
Really?
Yeah, crying. Tears of joy, big crocodile tears. Anyway, you got to wrap up.
All right,
I'm
we
done.
got to wrap up. No, I think that's good. I think it's important to note, and we'll have you back to talk about that. So we want to be intellectually honest with all the people who listen to the program, and of course, we want to be honest with anyone who. If you want to come on the program, listen. I'm not, like I said, I'll talk about my faith, but I'm not going to do it with someone who says, "Oh, I'll only talk with you about it if you say zombie Jesus is stupid." And I do think that regardless of where you line up personally, theology matters, philosophy matters, religion can have very real-world impacts, even if you think that it's all fantasy. And my main thing is this. Like, for example, Sargon. I love Sargon. Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. I think Sam Harris is a fantastic guest. And I don't agree with them on theology. I don't agree with them on religion. But just because I think they're wrong on that doesn't mean that they have nothing to offer. I've never done that with anybody. Just because someone is wrong on an issue, for example, Neil deGrasse Tyson knows nothing about politics. Bernie Sanders, he knows nothing, precisely zero. Am I going to get into it with him about quantum physics? No, I'll shut up and learn. Even though he's not necessarily the best example. I'm using it as an example. So when you have people like the Young Turks, like it's also, Michael Woods Jr., Secular Talk, whoever it is, whoever's dodging us that week, and they say, well, it's just not worth my time. Well, here's the thing. If an argument is so silly, it's so stupid, it should be really easy to break down. And I'm not asking people you can't be debating every ham and egger with a Twitter egg, right? You can't do that. The people we've offered are people who have called me out, like Piers Morgan, people who've made personal attacks, like Michael Woods Jr., or other people out there, people who've gone after me, we've invited them on, and then they cower. Here's the main thing, too. Liberals and you tweet me if you think I'm wrong at S-Credit, they're just so unfun now. I mean, you used to get that with conservatives a little bit. Obviously, they just, the Christian sort of youth group parents, I understand that. I grew up with it. But now we're at the point where I was out with family, and there's some family members, none of my direct in-laws, but people twice, thrice removed who were there. And it's all, this conversation is getting really ugly. If you talk about immigration, if you talk about Islam, if you talk about feminism, if you talk about LGBTQ AAIP, they're the ones who are going to reprimand you. This conversation shouldn't be taking place. Justin Timberlake, you need to apologize for cultural appropriation. Jon Stewart was funny. Stephen Colbert was funny. At one time, David Letterman was absolutely hysterical. Jimmy Kimmel used to be funny. They're just not fun anymore. Everything is offensive. Everything, like, the only people who are any fun are libertarian conservatives, and I consider that to be whether it's just anti-authoritarian sort of libertarians or even Christian right conservatives. They're just so much more fun than the left. I'm tired of every time I go out to dinner, if there's a liberal there, it's going to be ruined. You make a feminist joke, they're going to get mad. They're going to reprimand you. Think about it. Amy Schumer, Lena Dunham, Samantha Bee, Trevor Noah, who's from South Africa. He was hired because he could read talking points about a country he knows nothing about better than the next guy. These people aren't funny. It's not fun anymore. And I don't have to think they're funny. I'll acknowledge it's a joke, but I really do think we've gotten to a point where the reason you're seeing people like Lierre Keith and Sargon and a lot of former liberals, it's just so suffocating, the oppression, and you're seeing that with Brexit, and you're seeing that's the reaction with Trump, whether you like him politically or not. Culturally, it's great that people are tired of the suffocating cultural Marxist oppression from the left. It's just not fun anymore. We'll make listen, not all the jokes land, but we will always take the joke when we can grab it. It will always be too soon. It will always be slightly past the line, because that's what we do. Let's bring back fun. And AIDS jokes, most importantly. Louder with Crowder. Stay tuned for next week. AIDS. Oh, boy.